anytime you like. And I'm at the Walmart right now, and I wanted to do a quick, well, not necessarily a quick video. I wanted to describe some observations that I have, especially a few days ago when I was in here. It was really busy in the parking lot with employees, and there were a lot of people pulling orders in the pickup version of shopping at Walmart. What I would want you to consider is, with the smash and grab of so-called violent protesters and stealing things from stores, this is classic of the problem, reaction, solution. It's going to sound very reasonable to many people that stores aren't able to be open like they used to because of that. So the ordering online or through the store systems that have either the pickup or the delivery. Now, Walmart is actually a preferred or the preferred vendor for FEMA. So imagine one of the other dynamics here is that the military can call in armaments, even pretty sophisticated weaponry. And there's a distribution network that's been established to be able to do that. So what has happened is a prison camp has been assembled all around us, a prison, not a planet. We live on a stationary level plane. That's the reality of that. So I'm going to flip this around and just show you a little bit of what it looks like here now. The employees are showing up. They're getting ready to, well, some of them are getting ready to meet the public. Well, there's been an overnight crew that's been pulling orders, cleaning up the store, and all of that. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I just simply wanted to say it's happening. They may want to see themselves on the live stream later. I don't know. But a friendly smile and wave is a nice way to deal with some of that. I'm not doing ambush journalism. Where can I go now that I've got a reliable, economical vehicle? Well, I certainly won't blend in, that's for sure. Because of the nature of who I am and what I'm doing, I think I would make the system, the beast system, nervous if I were to head to, let's say, Silicon Valley or Twitter, try to go to Twitter headquarters or the Starbase to meet Elon face to face. I think that'd make him feel a little uneasy. Or if I were to want to go to Washington, D.C. to go to Washington, like John Doe Goes to Washington, like I believe it was the 1940s movie, that feel-good kind of movie. I believe it was with Cary Grant, that he was going to try and help make things right. Oh wow, there's a bunny or a small fox running across the road. Kind of interesting. So up ahead and to the left is the Starbucks. We've got major corporations that have a lot of control in our world. They're supposedly NGOs, non-government organizations. Not buying it. The government has influence in Hollywood, in the corporations, in the official narrative of the world. So I'm gonna mention a friend in situations, people that I meet, things that we talk about, and it'll be kind of a blend together without me divulging. I don't want to necessarily put them on the spot and draw any kind of hatred to them. or embarrassment. Yet I do want to call out the situation that is pretty dire. People are making lifetime decisions for their eternity, apparently, decisions that are going to affect their eternal perspective. That used to be the name of my channel, Eternal Perspective. It was a little bit long of a title, hard for people to see, but you can see it on YouTube if you hashtag or type Eternal Perspective in a video, or in a video search, a YouTube search. And then to describe as well, there are legal restrictions of where a person can go and carry a firearm. That's another situation, and you would need to know the laws of the area where you live to know what those are, and then where you're traveling. So one of the things to keep in mind is airports. When people are flying, they've gone through a sorting and a security process, so to speak. That's part of the situation there. So I'm on Robert Edge Parkway. That was the Gator Hole Plaza Walmart. And I wanted to start the recording there to have that be the thumbnail, and then have people curious, what's that all about. So at this time in the morning, 10 to 6 Eastern Standard Time in North America, I'm able to, on the East Coast, I'm able to drive around right now, and it's not really going to draw much attention like it would at, let's say, 2:15 in the morning, because of bar time and that type of thing, bar closing. So I wanted to go ahead and go down the Highway 31 here in just a little bit, heading towards Myrtle Beach. Let's flip this around, show you what this looks like. So I saw a U.S. mail truck. So did you, I believe. It went by when I was at the intersection. I may have had the camera facing towards me. I remember seeing it 2 times. Once when I went by it, when I was merging on to Robert Edge Parkway here about a half hour ago. Do you think that the truck driver noticed me? Maybe the truck even noticed me. We're all under surveillance, being tracked, traced, database, threat assessed. There's a police vehicle right there. I'm not paranoid, I just have a situational awareness of what's going on. What's happening in the world is a battle between good and evil. I'm exposing it all. I'm exposing the truth about everything. There's a very sophisticated mind control technology that very few are aware of, how advanced it actually is. The manipulation of humanity with electronics, as well as the particulate that is dispersed through the food, water, and air, gets integrated in our bodies and activated with electronics. We're an energy field living inside a biological unit, a biological being. Our earth suit, this dirt bag as some people call it, or a flesh, it's where our soul, spirit lives. And as far as consciousness, there's a consciousness of the reality all around us. the Almighty is aware of everything, and I believe He will let His children be aware of what He wants us to be aware of. And the enemy of our soul is also aware of who we are. And with spiritual discernment, we can be made aware of who they are as well. And then the literally mind-blowing reality of all this is that sometimes those that are demon-possessed evil entities can be cast out of that person or that individual, and they can be born of the Holy Spirit. So in considering what is it to be born again, it's when the Holy Spirit lives inside the individual. Now, Black Sabbath had an album cover, and I believe the album was Born Again, or the song was, and it looked like an evil beast, clawed entity and all of that. I've brushed up against world leaders, sometimes face-to-face, sometimes digitally, because of my desire to live, die, and know and expose the truth about everything. What I found out is very disturbing. A lot of what I used to believe, found out was absolutely not true. And it was intentionally that way, to manipulate my action, my beliefs, thoughts, and behaviors. That's how sophisticated this is. So many are under this influence and completely unaware of it, about that. It's pretty disturbing. It's a disturbing reality. Okay, so what I want to do is just go ahead and show you what this looks like on my way to Myrtle Beach. I'm going to head on down to the Coastal Grand Mall, probably pull up near the Tesla charging station. On a clear, cool day like today, beautiful sunrise coming through the palm trees as I sit across from the charging stations. I don't want to have my vehicle right in there because that would violate their it's posted there. It's for charging only. Now that vehicle looked like just a stranded vehicle, but anywhere along the way here it would be very likely that I would see law enforcement. Very likely. Somebody's late to work, perhaps, and they may be in a hurry. They may be going really fast. I'm going 65. That's the posted speed limit. Why would I go any faster? I don't need to. So the other day I did a live stream, and the breaking up of the broadcast was so often, I just decided to cut the broadcast. It was on the 13th, Friday the 13th. There was a call to violence from terrorist organizations, Hamas. But keep in mind, the battle between good and evil, people and organizations mask their true controllers and what they're actually up to. So there is a kaleidoscope of conspiracy theories to hide the actual conspirators and what they're up to. So much is not as it appears. There you go. That's true. It's a true statement. A friend and I were talking last night. We disagree on cosmology, the nature of our reality in quite a few instances, yet he agrees that politicians lie, and they've been lying for a long time. And I wanted to build on that to help cast a certain curiosity. Well, if they're lying about that, they're lying about the outcome of the 2020 election, what else are they lying about? Who could pull that off? And where they publicly, the parties disagree on topics, yet they were unified on some key topics. One key topic in particular that non-governmental organizations over the last years. It's 2023. How about that? It's 10/15/2023. So the traffic is pretty sparse right now. And then there will be rush hour traffic times as well. As I'm sure you know, wherever you are, perhaps. Some areas have more of that than others. I've driven across country. I've driven across country using hydrogen and oxygen and diesel, and averaged over 55 miles per gallon driving coast to coast in a modified diesel Volkswagen. And then in a hydroxygen enhanced Buick Park Avenue supercharged Ultra, I was averaging over 38 miles to the gallon. This car right now, the Toyota Prius, is a little bit of a challenge to add hydroxygen to, or HHO. And the reason for that is the sensors are going to pick up a lot of oxygen that's being infused into the engine, which can challenge the regulation of the carbon-based gasoline fuel that would be injected. So there are very sophisticated technologies that will shut this vehicle down if it's not operating as designed by the manufacturer. Right now everything is basically stock. I'm running a synthetic lubricant, Mobil 1, and Duralube in the engine, 1 quart of Duralube, to enhance the properties of the metal. It's not just modifying the oil, it's adding a friction reducer to the metal itself. So Stanley Meyer in the water car, he had a very sophisticated technology deployed on an internal combustion engine that used high frequency and electricity to shatter the bond molecularly of liquid H2O into its constituent parts of oxygen and hydrogen. He also developed an injector, apparently, that could go right into the spark plug hole, the port for the spark plug, and shatter the bond directly there. Fascinating technology. I've got it featured in my research library. And what I wanted to say with that is the research library that I have is way more than a YouTube playlist. It has to be, because there's way too much censorship on YouTube now at this point in human history. In the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document, that is the landing video on my channel, I've got over 550 hyperlinks to take you to locations, platforms, and documentation that is, well, some of it won't be allowed on YouTube, Some of it is just in a format that's not easily added to a playlist, so I can add it to the narrative. Some of it may even be humorous, and is, or a playlist of beautiful, relaxing nature videos. I'm going to take the Robert Grissom or the Grissom Parkway exit here. You'll get a chance to see a little bit of some of the area around Myrtle Beach. Broadway at the beach, I don't know how much of it will be lit up now. In a busy year, the Grand Strand of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina will get over 20 million guests. So I understand it looks a bit extreme to have a car labeled up like this. I understand that. However, with so much drawing for the attention of humanity, not just in this location, at this time in human history, I have an answer to some of the digital censorship that's going on, shadow banning me and hiding me. One of the examples of that is this car and the other Truthmobile on my driveway. I've had people that are now subscribers and following me because of this public persona that I put out there. And it's not a me show, it's a we show. Recently I was given a designation of what do they call that? I earned a badge from Doug and Stacy on, I believe it was their Facebook and or YouTube. And more recently, in the last month, Doug has done a very good job of exposing the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars document. And I really like the work that they've put together. So I made a post on that. I'm on Facebook because I've been on Facebook for a long time, and I used it to the best of my ability to expose the truth about everything worldwide, around the world, around the clock. I believe there's more subscribers or book than any other profile. It's also a government operation. All of it is, basically. Whether it's Instagram, Twitter, now X, Facebook, TikTok, you name it. They're all operated with the shadow behind the persona of a free speech platform is actually being manipulated, track, trace, database, and manipulated. Some entities are being more manipulated than others. So just food for thought. As I turn off my cruise control, my vehicle, the Prius here is harvesting, or the signal. So why in the world would I have a breakup of my broadcast in such a public area, such a highly trafficked area? I don't know. Maybe the system wants to discourage me from my live stream. Could be. My engine's not running. The climate control system is running on the off of the battery. I'm averaging about 50 miles to the gallon with this car. It's pretty amazing. I like it a lot. If I was driving a gas guzzler, I wouldn't be doing this right now. That's for sure. I've got excellent reaction time and more. It's anticipation time. I can anticipate when it's going to change pretty accurately. So when I say it's a we show, I'm very serious in exposing the truth. I'll use the efforts of the truth tellers and the deceivers, and I'll put it all together in a research library to show you how it fits together. How the medical, military, financial, industrial complexes all work together to craft a narrative that suits their manipulation and investment purposes. So this is Broadway at the beach. I wanted to pull in here and show you what this looks like here this time of the day. There are so many people that come to visit here because it's a very popular place. The most driven to destination in North America, apparently. So yesterday at the last minute, I decided to, instead of going left, I went right and was able to position myself by a beautiful ivory pearl white, actually a pearl white Tesla Model S. They had their windows down, and I said, we have technology that I'm exposing in my playlist, my research library, to charge this car while you're driving. I don't mean just regenerative braking. I mean there is suppressed energy creation and propulsion systems, which is true. So in this area, there will be a lot of cameras. That is to Ripley's aquarium. What I want to do is see if I can clean up my view here for you a little bit. That's a bit better. It may be on my windshield. Got Rain-X on the windshield to reduce surface tension and cause the water to sheen off of there. By the way, I look to make sure I don't have somebody upset with me for not moving. There's nobody behind me. So the Almighty is omnipotent and omniscient. Looks like omniscience, omniscience. That's kind of freaky. Why is that going on? Why is that flashing? I don't know. Might be a security thing. There's electronics that can be deployed around secure areas like Area 51 that creeps people the heck out, freaks them right out. So this is a time of the day when there will be service activity going on. And I see a service van with a trailer behind it. And they've got a boom truck or a boom trailer, maybe for doing windows or lights, that kind of thing. Now, in 2019, there were a bunch of bucket trucks over by the Myrtle Beach Mall. And I didn't know I thought maybe they were going to do tree trimming. No, they were going to install a bunch of 5G. is what they were going to do. The 5th generation wireless technology involves cell towers, Wi-Fi, Starlink probably. Maybe that's now, that's maybe the 6th generation. I understand that that technology works. Think about this. How can a moving aircraft actually pick up a signal going hundreds of miles an hour? How do they do that? Well, I believe that they're beaming up to the firmament and using the superconductive dome that covers the Earth and then focusing onto that. That's what I believe is going on. To believe that there's a satellite moving 20-some thousand miles an hour, however 1,000 miles away they say it is, or hundreds of miles, and to imagine that they're intersecting and connecting, I believe is absurd. That would be quite a shot. That'd be quite a magic bullet, like during the Kennedy assassination, which was obviously carried out by the CIA. The CIA. It's read that. There's a lot that's not we're told a lot of deception. We're presented a false narrative. So on a Friday night, Saturday night, this place would have been really busy. When the temperature is beautiful, I'll bring us back out to that. I'm looking at a golf cart driving around right now. It's one of the service/security vehicles. I'll just go the speed limit. I'm obviously not trying to hide at all. Now they have a Ferris wheel that's very psychedelic. It's lit up, it's beautiful, just not now. So I think for the time being, I'm going to take an exit out of here. Oh, that's not the exit. I don't want to freak out. Oh, the security guy might not be a security guy. He might be picking up trash. What I did want to show you, though, is the upside down, I believe it's called Wonder World, up ahead. It's by the sky. It's not the sky wheel. Let's see what they call it. Wonderworks, I believe, is the upside down place. I literally want to turn people's perception of this world upside down, or actually project it in a way that's more accurate and truthful. Driving around at the outer edge of the parking lot this time of the day is no big deal. I definitely don't want to be close to the buildings, though. I don't want them to freak out and think I'm trying to break in or anything like that. It's part of that situational awareness. So there it is. It's a structure that is built to look like it's upside down. Kind of interesting. We've got archaeological evidence that doesn't add up with the official narrative. My lunch break does a great job of showing the architectural and archaeological impossibilities and the inconsistencies of their stories, the official narrative. Part of it is to see what we'll pick up on, to threat assess us, see what kind of a threat we are. Like, no problem for me to go to Walmart or Wonder World. If I were to get in my car and drive across country to go to Silicon Valley, that would draw some attention. Why would I do that? Now, if I were to fly, it would be a different scenario, because then I've flown through all the security checkpoints, and they've made weapons in that a challenge to get, all the while the people are being monitored and modeled. Apparently right now in our country and other countries around the world, there's military-aged men that are in facilities that are apparently receiving large parcels, crates of perhaps weaponry. I don't say that to make you afraid. It's a situational awareness. We've had millions of people illegally cross over borders around the world. And actually, I guess, is it illegal when they're met with open arms by the government? I've got a friend who works with the airlines that says Spirit Airlines was flying them into Myrtle Beach, and then they get assimilated. How about that? So what's going to happen? I don't know. Not sure. So there's one of the other really important things to consider is there's a timeline discrepancy, a timeline deception. Up here on the right is the Hollywood Wax Museum with King Kong on the Empire State Building. Now, let's see if you can see him. Kong, there he is. So the entertainment was never only for entertainment. It has been propaganda and indoctrination all along. Just so you know, it's not an accident. Oh, what a coinky-dink. Showing Skynet and the Terminator and the Matrix and 2001 A Space Odyssey. And then Dr. James Giordano and other people working in the neuroscience, brain sciences, and manipulating humanity's brains. How about that? So let's pull on into Sam's Club here. I'm a member. I've got a card, and I want to see. Well, just made that under the wire. Alrighty. I wanted to see what this looks like here. I used to manage at a Sam's Club, one of my career activities. Huh. Looks different. I don't know if it's where they're painting. Normally there would be Sam's on the front of the building. What's up with that? I'll show you what I mean. That big blue spot on the building would normally have Sam's there. What happens if they're no longer open for public attendance the way they are now? What happens if it's only select individuals based on their cooperation with the system, or if it's pick and pull, where they pull the orders and then you go and pick them up? Or it could be pull and pick them up. I don't know. We're living in a bizarre world. The timeline deception also involves the eschatological or end times view of Scripture. We can look at the order of events, and that's all very interesting, especially if the tribulation in the millennial reign of Christ already happened. Huh, that sounds weird. What would give you any Why would I even have that idea? Well, they've lied about the history. They've destroyed a lot of the evidence through wars, burning books and killing people that knew how to read them, and then creating a false narrative and enforcing it through the grade schools, the preschools, grade schools, and continuing education in the form of colleges, and the online components. They could never fake any of that, right? So when people talk about the expansive space gasm that they get looking off into space and imagining they're going to go to Mars or the moon and travel the cosmos, man, you're a space cadet. Remember when, I don't know about you, but in the areas that I used to hang out back in the 80s or the 70s, man, that dude's a space cadet. One of my friends, we used to call him Spaceman. He was really out there. He was way out there. See how that anticipation of all those lights goes? It's just the way it is. Now here we have a WMBF News. I've ended up talking to a lot of representatives that are independent correspondents for that organization. Some of the newspapers have turned into, well, okay, so Palmetto Armory, that's one of them. Well, here's a new dealership, the Myrtle Beach Hyundai dealership. Interesting. So what used to be a newspaper is now using a weapon of distributing weapons of a different kind. So the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars creates situations and manipulates the public with those situations. You can hear the document on my channel if you care to. It's in my research library. I actually met a gentleman in North Myrtle Beach that ordered and actually got it off of Amazon, the complete document. We didn't used to have billboards like big screen TVs, did we? Oh, since I'm so close here, let me pull into Costco. So, although the brick and mortar store of Best Buy is not open now, Sam's Club is not open now. However, the online components of all of them are. What if these transition from being a store that you can go in to a form of a warehouse? And they've got security doors and concrete fortified posts in front of the building so that people can't just smash and grab. So the parking here right now looks like all the third shift parking. I'm sure that's what it is. What if you can't go into the store anymore? What then? So that whole mark of the beast system, whether you believe the tribulation and the millennial reign of Christ has or hasn't happened yet, we have security measures that are in place, that are going into place, that will restrict the ability of people to conduct commerce. So there's a landscaping company and a trailer and a guy out there picking up. That's what he's doing. Hey, good morning, man. I got something for you. So I'm on a live stream right now, and I want to give you my card so you can have your mind blown when you go to look at my channel and the other platforms that I'm on. You can give me a call anytime. Are you Terrell?
I'm Terrell.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Robert.
Nice to meet you, Robert.
Hey, thanks, man.
All right.
Hey, thanks for keeping this place looking good, man.
Yeah, man.
You'll be able to see yourself on this stream just in a moment.
Yes,
You can reach out anytime. I'm exposing the truth about everything.
Okay.
If you think I've missed something, you could give me a call, send me a text. I'm sure you work a lot of hours
Yes,
and that.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, bro.
Thank you, man.
Hey, you're welcome.
Have a good one.
You too. So that is part of how I do what I do as well. And then let's zoom on around here. Terrell, there he is. So one of the other things that I'll do is when I come here and fuel up with some top tier discounted gasoline, I'll park my car right over here, and then people will see the car. They'll see it right here. Let me show you. And I can do it now because it's a bit different without all the people here. It changes the context of it. So I'm going to get on out and show you what it looks like. Do not enter. Yeah, they don't want you coming in this way. But I can have my car parked right there, and people will be curious. This will be filled up with vehicles lined up all around here for the discounted fuel. Let's see what it is right now. $289. $289.5 or $345. Now the Truthmobile needs to run on high octane, and the new Truthmobile can run on 87 octane because of the compression ratio of the engine is much lower, so I get to use less expensive fuel to operate. How many cameras am I on right now? I don't know. Bunches. There's cameras all over the place. You know that, right? So somebody can decide to pull right up next to me and take a picture if they want. So when I pulled up next to the Tesla Model S last night on Main Street there, I said, if you take a picture, you can reach out anytime. I said, we've got suppressed energy and technologies. You could charge that car up while you drive. So for me, this is not only a mobile broadcast station, it is also an office of sorts. I can operate my laptops on here if I want, having climate control without having the engine running. I'll turn my headlights off right now for a little bit more stealth mode. But now I do believe I want to go over to the Tesla supercharging station and talk about that. Imagine if you didn't need to go to a charging station or plug your vehicle in except to maybe power your house. Let's say your vehicle created enough energy to not only drive yourself around, it could also power a house. I remember seeing in Popular Mechanics or Popular Science, one of them maybe 30 years ago, GM was talking about that with fuel cell technology. Well, some of what they present is make-believe, some of it's real. How will you determine what's what? That's kind of the challenge. All right. So I've seen where they have big trucks drive around, and with vacuum trucks that will pick them up, and then they'll have a ground crew. And now they just have Terrell out there. You can see the sun is approaching. Lower temperature, lower humidity, and we get an earlier, clearer sunrise. That's how it works. Where the sun and the moon appear and vanish on the horizon, and their duration of visibility, especially between one another through the seasons, indicate conclusively that they're moving above a stationary level Earth. The other thing is, if we were spinning 1,000 miles an hour ship, would be flying everywhere. Out of the toilet, out of the porta potties. We don't have upside down people in relationship to one another on the bottom of a spinning, orbiting, contradictory, all these supposed contradictory movements. It's bullshit. They're lying. They're lying about it all. So I don't know what's up with these purple lights. There's different conspiracy theories about it. I'm not sure what the reality of it is. Some kind of maybe a blue light tracking thing could be. I don't know. Here we get the green again. Now, in this time of the day, these lights will be activated by the vehicle that goes over the pressure sensitive point in the pavement. And they may use other sophisticated technology to regulate lights as well. And it'll change through the day. That would be a limited form of AI. However, any of that limited AI can be, well, it can be activated by a very sophisticated AI as well. It's not really artificial intelligence. That's a term used for it. It's an intelligence that Almighty, the true living creator, operates, as well as through the palm trees over at the supercharging station. And here we are, just like I described. I knew what it would be like here. I think that's driving machines. Unlikely. He makes a lot of money reselling electricity through the supercharging. Step outside briefly and just show you what he's right now. And one of the other things from a security standpoint, Obviously, I'm not creeping on the Tesla owner to do anything that would be nefarious. I'm simply showing the world from a perspective that maybe others haven't seen. So because of the lighting, more light on the outside than the inside, we're looking at a mirror there. See how that works? So if the sun were 93 million miles away, this whole thing would be lit up, just not that little spot there. Go ahead and utilize your analytical critical thinking. Class is in session. So I made an imprint on that driving by. When I wave to the Teslas, I'm waving to the quantum supercomputer that manages Elon's empire. Hey Elon, please unban me from Twitter. I thought you were so interested in the truth you wanted to develop Truth GPT. I'm tired of all the lies. I'm tired of all the deception. I want people to make an informed choice on their eternity based on the truth. They've got a So Troy Reed and the magnet motor car developed has been silenced as a system where the motor energized and going. And he could just keep on driving. And imagine having a bigger battery on it if you wanted to store up some of that energy for household use or to share with somebody else. Imagine if this car, or the car I'm in, let's say if it were the Cybertruck that I was actually working with R&D, research and development, like I've talked about before. I mean, the ideas I have come into being. Okay, I've talked about it on a video and many videos where I've talked about that. I wrote it down on a legal pad. I've got a video that's an hour and a minute long, I believe it is, on Odyssey because it's blocked on YouTube. I put it on my Facebook, and the thumbnail is me photoshopped in the Roadster. There's an opportunity space underneath the semi bed between the trailer tires and the tractor tires, and they can all have regenerative braking motors. When you are wanting to slow down 80,000 pounds, why would you want to harvest as much energy as possible? I interacted with some people around Elon's post, and I said you could have regenerative braking on the trailer as well. And one of the responses was Tesla doesn't make semi-trailers. And I'm thinking, well, that's a bit naive. If Tesla wanted to have the system to harvest the trailer braking energy as well, it could definitely do that. It's easier to just put those units under a trailer bed and even have your own custom trailer. Why not? That's easier to build than a car or a Cybertruck, I'm sure. Anyway, that's just some of the things that I'm thinking about. We have suppressed technology, suppressed truth. I wanted to imprint this on the Tesla computer. So what I'm going to do is walk over to the one of the Tesla charging stations, about as far away from the car as I can get. I can feel the vibration of a lot of electricity flowing through there. So I would say pay attention. Pay attention because there's a lot going on. Pay attention because there's a lot going on. What's the truth about it all? It's important to know. So it stops there, and I found out that my nylon shirt that breathes really good and a lanyard is also very effective. That's why I do that. Creates curiosity anyway. So I understand it looks odd to have a vehicle labeled up the way I do. It's because I care. And it's not only how much I know, it's also how much I care. However, there are very knowledgeable, sincere individuals that are profoundly deceived. I hand out an invitation to everybody. If you think I've got something wrong or I missed something, you could put it in a comment. You could give me a phone call. You could send me a link. That's all something you could do if you like. I do believe I'm going to want to wait until the sun appears here. It looks like right about in the middle of the view is where we're going to see the sun appear from here. So when there's talk about over-the-air updates on a Tesla, that's apparently all doable. I mean, you can add features, you can add the capacity of the car to go faster. I've got a friend who got his upgraded. So the Tesla's taken off now, and I'll just throw the lights on. I don't know that they're going to come by, probably not. There's a lot of cameras on the car. So whether or not the occupants would see me, the supercomputer does, that monitors the full self-driving. One of the things that I did early on, I audited the full self-driving day. I watched it multiple times. It was an educational process for me to learn some of the dynamics of how the FSD autonomous system works. And I have a lot of ideas. Now, do they know of what I think about it, or you think about it, or other things? Apparently, there is bidirectional hypergaming of humanity. In other words, there's this physical avatar you're looking at, me, Robert J. Joseph Forsch. And then there's a digital exhaust throughout my whole lifetime and records of everything. And not just me, it's everybody that it can. And then there's the recording of what we've bought and what we've looked at, and Amazon and other stores and applications model us to determine not only what we might like, it's also what the system wants us to perceive. So our recommended videos when we make a search, and the results of a Google query or a search. If you type hashtag Robert Forsch in a search, you may find quite a bit, you may not. I asked Siri who Robert Forsch was. It's a female voice I've got for mine. Siri, I don't have any information on that. I thought, well, you need to pick up your game a little bit because I'm exposing the truth about everything. So I did follow up on Google and activated some different features to make me more searchable or findable. If that's a findable, is that a term? I don't know. So I think now, let's see, what do we have for time? It looks like 6, we're about 20 minutes away from sunrise or so, sun appearing here. So with what's happened in the last 3 years, there's been a lot less activity in shopping. And at the Gator Hole, it's more commercial real estate sales offerings. They're looking, the system is to sell real estate, commercial real estate, because of the cost of owning it, maintaining it is not working out for the people who have it. So will we see a whole thing close down and it become a distribution center? Could be. I mean, when you look at a relative modern mall, they're pretty expensive to build and there's a lot of parking around it. What will we see change in our world? And how much longer of this do we have? We don't know. I don't know. So one of the other, with the backdrop of over-the-air updates, like with a Tesla, you to consider over-the-air updates for a child of God that I am, that's actually born of the Spirit. I want to get any of the updates the Almighty wants to send me. I'm going to go ahead and take us outside again and just show a little bit of how much different it looks with just that short amount of time. So yesterday I saw a lot of military jets scrambling, or yesterday or the day before, from Myrtle Beach International Airport. It's real close to where we are. It's right over there. They'll fly out there. So I'm coming and going. The lighting is a lot different now. So Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. That's the truth. So on the side of the car, I've got for the country code. That's why it's there. I just didn't have enough room on the back window there to do that. And I wanted to give precedence for the hashtag of my name. What I would say with the hashtag when I became acclimated to, hey, what is a hashtag anyway? Well, it means look at it, search it, check it out. What are you going to find? So my name is Forsch, and it's unique to me, especially if you put a Robert Joseph Forsch, but there won't, I don't know how many results there would be for that. But it's over multiple platforms. It's my Facebook. It was my Twitter now on. I'm not all angry about Elon or the system booting me off of the platform. I'm actually surprised I was able to be there for as long as I was. And the research library that you can look at, many others can look at too if they bookmark my name and they want to keep seeing what I found. They could, if they want to. Now, The artificial intelligence, so-called, will continue to do that. I believe there's been somewhat of a battle this morning with keeping a cohesive, continuous broadcast. Why was it breaking up? Why am I in the same spot within 100 feet and it was breaking in and out? What's that about? I don't exactly know. Coincidental doesn't necessitate causal to apply analytical, critical thinking. Some of what I talk about, you might think, well, I know that, whatever that is. What it's virtually impossible for you to know is what I personally think and have experienced. We may have a similar observation, and as important as what I believe and ultimately is for me and what I do about it, for you to appropriate your beliefs, what you believe you should do or not do, is really important to you. So we've got our perception of what we believe is going on based on our life experience and what we believe to be true. It's a structure that builds on itself. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, to me anyway. When the Holy Spirit took up residence in me, he changed my perception of reality so significantly. I wanted other people to know that that can happen. It happened to me. It may happen for you. I've got this in my, if you hashtag my name, you'll see it. This is a bubble level. It's a bullseye level. It's a bullet level. So let me put it right here on the top of my wall. And you may be of the opinion or the belief, an opinion is just a belief that's somewhat apologetically presented. So consider some of the people that I know that have bought the global lie, hook, line, and sinker, and they don't even really know, many of them don't even know the implications of believing that lie. Some of them have participated and still are participating in experimental toxic medical experiments as a result of believing the lies. Some of the people that I'm thinking of, that I've talked to recently, believe a lot of the official lies about JFK, the moon landing, 9/11 of 2001. They drank the Kool-Aid, the official Kool-Aid, the official toxin, the official poison. It's not true. They're believing lies and acting as if it's true, and there are eternal consequences for doing that continually, perpetually. It's only by God's grace, divine intervention, that anybody can love and believe the truth, let alone find it. I didn't get where I am by picking myself up by my own bootstraps. I'm not operating in my own self-propulsion. I'm operating in the power of the Spirit flowing through me, empowering me to do what He created me to do. So instead of me handing Him a to-do list for the universe and my life, I simply wanted to find out what He created me for, what He wants me to do. And then to rely on Him to carry that out through me. So with an over-the-air update for your car to add a feature or two, I just wanted to be a fully functional, fully equipped, empowered individual, entity, to have all the power the Almighty wants me to have. And here's one of the other amazing realities. It's not just what He's doing in my life. He can lead people to do what he wants them to do as we interact with each other. So I'm not seeing it like a narcissist would, that it's all about me. It's about him and what he intends to accomplish. And for those of us that want to participate in that, we have a privilege to be used by him to do that. Looks like a Tesla may be showing up. Yes, I believe so. I recognize the headlights. Here it is. Tesla Model S. What a beauty. I thought we would see. Would you? Well, the system knows. Do they? I've got a friend just down the street from me that's got a brand new pearl-colored Model Y. Beautiful car. Gone for rides in it. Beautiful. The charging for him at home is about 1/3 the cost of charging at a supercharger. However, economically speaking, because of the cost of taxes and all of that, I get by on pretty economically at 50 miles per gallon on regular gasoline. Would I like a Tesla? Yeah, that'd be cool. So I would like to have a pearl color or a stainless Cybertruck to utilize for research and development. I'd be happy with that. Well, that's a bit grandiose, isn't it? Well, what would I have to offer? Well, some of the ideas that I've already mentioned on my videos. We may see them come to market. Why wouldn't we? They're great ideas. How much water drips out from underneath the car that is from my climate control? Could have it go right in in a receptacle. Excuse me. Apparently the cabins of the Teslas, many of them, maybe most of them, have HEPA filters. We could also have electrolysis shattering the bond between oxygen and hydrogen, oxygenating the interior cabin environment. Let's say you had, for example, the wildfires in California or Maui or wherever they've been. A Cybertruck with run-flat tires, solid tires, would be quite a tool to have, quite a resource to have. You could also have a closed circuit with an oxygenated atmosphere with water that gets recirculated, potentially. We don't know what we don't know. I don't claim to know it all. What I do know is that I've had ideas that have made corporations millions and millions of dollars. Ideas that I've had more than a decade before they came to market. My dad sold steel to the military-industrial complex, Oshkosh Truck. That sounds like a commercial jet. Yeah, there he is. So, this friend of mine and I were talking about commercial air flight and the plane time. I've flown from coast to coast, both directions. The time in the air is about the same. Obviously, there's no 1,000-mile-per-hour rotation of the Earth, stationary and level. Reality indicates that. So will our Tesla Model S occupant there check out my channel? I hope so. I'm not trying to trick people into going to my channel. I want them to go there to be able to see what's there. It's a collaborative effort of content creators, and it's valuable information. So thebible.com is God's Word in all the major languages. If you're seeing this broadcast or one of my videos, you would have very, very likely an internet from the Christianity, like a real bummer of a deal. I remember seeing it like that. When I was a teenager, I wanted sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So I was able to really easily clue into people that said, yeah, the Bible's a fairy tale. It's all make-believe to control humanity. Well, that worked for them too, because they were doing sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I'm exposing the reality of that on my channel as well. There are people that are selling their soul for fame and fortune. What would it profit a man if he gained the whole world and lose his soul? How about that? Jesus says that. You may know him as Yeshua, the living word. Well, we've got another jet. Just another commercial jet. If we get some fast movers, I'll jump out and show you. I'm sure there will be some more happening today. Keep in mind when somebody has an emergency broadcast and they're alerting us of nuclear platforms flying around and fueling up and all that. Part of that is to generate fear. They may not be wanting to make people afraid. They may just want them to be seriously looking into what's going on. However, the system knows that that information is going out there and allows it, actually permits it, and I believe encourages it. Similar to how, so part of how I got here is my mother told me about 30 plus years ago, about 31 years ago, she said, Bobby, if the cancer doesn't get you, the treatment will. She died in 1993 on September 28th. And so one of the things that I remembered is she said, Bobby, the doctor says I can eat anything I want. I found that to be irresponsible advice, because there are foods that accelerate cellular division, which cancer is. It's out of control cellular division. Also, I've got cancer cures in my research library. Apparently, cancer either is or has the properties of a parasite, a fungus, an overgrowth, and it has the properties of a parasite. It'll take over its host and kill it. That's what it does. And that's part of what our governments of the world are doing, taking over control and drawing the life force out of humanity, enslaving humanity. Imagine if we could fill our cars up with water, or our generators at home with water, using that technology in a retrofit system. In an area where it's really cold, you need some way to generate heat. There's about 17 times the energy created or released from hydrogen, oxygen, the way that Stanley Meyer found that he could do that. So some people will say it's violating the laws of thermodynamics. I'm calling bullshit. Bullshit alert. So there's energy invested in harvesting coal, oil, uranium, processing, distribution, refining, all of that. And if it weren't profitable, if they weren't getting more out than they put into it, they wouldn't be doing it. That's how that works. If they can take synthetic fibers and have slave labor in other countries turn a bigger profit, well, they'll just leave the United States and use slave labor in China to do it. And they've done it. It's had an effect on our economy here. It's had an effect on the world economy. A world without borders. China has used a lot of people's efforts to slave efforts. They're enslaved. We have a different level of enslavement in North America here. It may have nice cars, pretty people, credentials, or accolades for their accomplishments and all of that, and they can be enslaved to their own selfish efforts, their own appetites. That happens too. Hey, let's take a look at what this looks like from here now. I think that's pretty beautiful. So is what you believe true? I ask myself that same question. Is what I believe to be true actually true? What we believe, from what I understand intellectually, is what we believe is true. If we're believing something is a deception, we're believing the truth that that thing is a deception. With the law of non-contradiction as a consideration, contradictory perspectives can't both be correct. They may both be wrong. There may be another option that the person hasn't even considered. I remember a story when I was a boy about 7 years old or so. My dad told me the story. He said there was a semi going down the road and he got wedged underneath an overpass. It jammed in there. Now, I don't know if the story was true. He told it to me like he was true. He said they were trying to figure it out, how they were going to get it out of there. And a little boy, apparently on a bicycle, came up and said, "Why don't you just let the air out of the tires?" Whether it was a true story or not, the point still stands that sometimes a very simple explanation can be employed to make a huge difference. So we have a parasite on humanity, enslaving humanity with deception. I'm wanting to, and I'm providing clarity for that. We've got electronic mind control that causes people to perceive things to be true that are not true at all. They're false. Not all of it. An effective deception has a high concentration of truth, and there's varying admixtures depending on the audience, the words that'll be used, from cradle to grave. Actually, the deception even happens in vitro. So a child in the womb, that a mother that is being carried by a mother of a terrible crime, maybe sees a terrible crime that she's involved in, the loss of a loved one, or maybe just watching a scary movie. Does that child know whether it's being subjected to the neurotransmitters from watching a movie or an actual event? How can I know that? Apparently, they have effects. It stands to reason. People that have been affected by tragedies have a different way of seeing life. Happened to me. Happened to me. Our son David almost died, and Joni, my wife, at delivery. She had an emergency C-section during a grand mal seizure. She had undiagnosed toxemia, and am I a doctor? No. Do I know what toxemia does now? Yeah, some of it. Edema, storing up a lot of water in her legs. And the doctor that saw her a week before said, you need to stop eating so much sugar. That was malpractice. He didn't recognize obvious edema. And then the morning we went into Long Beach Medical, the person that was helping put us into the room as we were going through the delivery or the labor process didn't take blood pressure to recognize that Joni was she was shutting down. She had toxemia that led to a grand mal seizure. She almost died, and David almost died, our oldest son. Now, before that ever occurred, we were told by Charlene, our Lamaze class teaching about, what to do how to raise your child, how to nurse them. And she said, and by the way, don't get the vaccines. I said, why? She said, well, they're toxic. I found that to be true. There are medical protocols that are harming children. I'm exposing that. There may come a time that, like this video may get taken down, my YouTube channel may get taken down. I've got documentation exposing what I just said. If the ogre of YouTube wants to silence me, and God allows it, then that's what'll happen. However, it's my responsibility to let people know. Now, in a more shrouded or veiled presentation, I would say you can look at my research library and you should be able to understand that this battle includes asymmetrical warfare, basically the food, water, air, medicines, and healthcare products and personal hygiene products, from toothpaste to wipes. Wiping your arse. There may be toxins on the baby wipes. I don't know. You can look them up. You can look all that up if you care to. I know that there's some interesting chemicals in personal hygiene products. What do they do? Who knows? Well, the system knows, because it put them there intentionally. So how will you know what's true when it's right in front of you? How will you be able to determine that? Looks like, I believe the sun is already up on the horizon. I believe you'd be able to see it on probably the other side of the mall. I think I'm going to go ahead and head on out to North Myrtle Beach. We should see I should be driving into the sunrise. That'll be pretty cool. Oh, I know what I can do. I can drive right next to the Tesla. I'm going to do that. That may seem a little bit different, less intimidating than walking up to them. That's nice. This is a beautiful car. How do you like it?
I like it. I've had it for probably 5 years.
It's a beauty. How many miles on it?
Well, this is a 13, so this has 180,000 miles.
Wow. It's got a lot of life left in it, I'm sure.
battery, and if you ever need to.
Oh, absolutely. So, I've got a card I can give you. Would you like that? And I'm exposing the truth about everything. If you think I've missed something, you could give me a call. You could send me a link. You could put it in a comment.
Like conspiracy theory type stuff.
Yeah, the truth about it all. How about
Yeah.
that? What's your name?
Jerry.
Hey, Jerry. So, what's interesting about that?
Anything in particular, or just a variety of different?
The truth about it all. World government creating money out of thin air, influencing the population of the world with sophisticated electronic mind control that basically manipulates the population of the world to its liking. And battle between good and evil, and exposing the asymmetrical warfare that's going on, Jerry, and the people that are working with it. And I'm exposing all of that. So some of the ideas that I've had have actually made corporations millions of dollars because they've been implemented. I didn't see any of it personally. That's okay. I had the idea though. And so it's one thing to have an idea, and it's another thing to facilitate the profiting from it.
Of course.
And one of the
I have ideas all the time, but if you can't execute it, then you know.
and it's hard in a world that wants to keep the truth suppressed, isn't it?
I mean, I guess it depends on the topic there. I don't know.
So there's with that as a stepping off point, there's a kaleidoscope of conspiracy theories to hide the actual true conspirators and what they're up to, what they do. The if you look through a kaleidoscope, it's pretty, but you wouldn't want to have be looking through that when you're driving, right?
Right.
So the does this one have full self-driving capacity?
This is before that. I have another one that does.
Now this has a lot of cameras on it, though, right?
This one doesn't. This is before when the first couple years they started, they didn't have that
Okay.
technology.
So when I wave to the Teslas that I see in North Myrtle Beach, where I do most of my activity, whether the occupants see me,
Every car they sell now has it built in.
I'm waving to the quantum supercomputer emulation of Elon that's managing his whole enterprise. He booted me off of the platform. Off of X.
Why is that?
Well, too much truth. He's tripling his money with energy that he sells through superchargers. For one, they don't want perpetual driving machines, right?
Well, I mean that I don't know. You know,
So that's
I'm sure they would embrace whatever is the most effective or efficient technology if it was there.
and to their liking for the overall big picture. It's so these could be
I mean they obviously pay for the rent to be here.
and the energy and the
Or, yeah.
oh, it's expensive. I appreciate it.
They're probably going to have to build another one,
I would think.
expand on it, but you know like the electricity has to be paid for by somebody. They're providing the electricity, so as to pay for it,
I totally get all that.
and they have to pay for the rent, I guess, to Burroughs and Chapin or whoever owns the small.
There's a cost involved with
Yeah,
it.
there's a cost involved.
And
Cost
it's
involved in
substantial.
Research and development. There's a cost in, you know.
Imagine if we could fuel our cars with water or didn't have to charge them up at home or at a charging station. That's what I'm talking about. There's 0 point energy that has been suppressed. And you can see the discovery of it in my research library.
I mean, but if that was, I mean, I don't know much about it, but you know, if there's any demonstration of it, or if it could be reproduced, I'm sure. I mean, think of how many scientists there are in the world. You know, like independent scientists that don't, you know, that aren't bound by any specific thing. But I mean, if anybody could reproduce it, then I'm sure they would. Yeah, it's an experiment. You know.
Well, so
If you
the
said, hey, this is possible. I mean, there's thousands or hundreds of thousands of scientists all around the world that would, I'm sure that would pursue the answer to that.
One of the challenges,
So,
Jerry, is when they
I'm sure it might, yeah, if you say it would be suppressed by a company, but I mean, there's a lot of people. Like, why wouldn't somebody else pursue the same thing? There's a lot of smart people.
Oh yeah. So when I was up in North Myrtle Beach at the paid parking lot at Maine's, it's near Bolanos. You know where it is? He was attending the lot there. He said he was a bit bitter about he saw my car and he said the truth about what? I said the truth about everything. And he said, you know, a partner and I developed a way to create massive amounts of electricity from seawater. And he said the men in black showed up and said, you're going to have to stop that. So that's kind of the
But people say all kinds of stuff that's not true.
it, yeah, including the official narrative.
Right, but I mean, what's to stop somebody else if this guy and his partner did it? I mean, nobody else. I
Well, they're good at silencing that. So what I did,
mean, so it's something like YouTube that's an open platform. I mean, anybody can. You're on there now,
we're on here right now.
so I
So
don't know. I don't really. I guess you could call me a skeptic,
that's great. A true scientist should be a skeptic
right?
because what I look at true science as a method of inquiry and investigation rather than a platform to manipulate humanity with false findings, false information. So there's a lot of science fiction being presented as fact. I found that to be absolutely true. And what the short version of what I say, Jerry, is like if you were in a hurry, you had to go right now, and I just pulled up, I would say, here, Google my name, guaranteed to blow your mind. And at your own discretion, you can either pick your teeth and throw it away, or clean old school points ignition, or find some mind blowing content. What I didn't mention that is really important, I alluded to it, is that there's particulate that's put in the food, water, air, and manipulated with electronics, and it's merged to the quantum supercomputers and humanity that is sending data feed to it. The system knows all of our
So
keystrokes.
how do you decide what's science fiction and what's not? Because a lot of that sounds like science fiction, but you believe that.
Yeah, so the evidence of the mind control masses would be some of the evidence believing things that I know for a fact to be not true.
But that's just people. That's psychology.
So do you know who Dr. James Giordano is? Worked with West Point, the DoD, DARPA, with this technology, neuroscience and manipulation, MK Ultra. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, well, there's a lot of it on my channel documenting how Nazi war criminals were integrated in the OSS that became the CIA, the NASA space program. The space between the ears is what NASA is most concerned with, manipulating humanity with fake trips to the moon and Mars and a whole bunch of bullshit and some reality. There's technology that's being deployed to give us high-speed internet. I had a friend who's flown on a private jet receiving high-speed internet, supposedly directly connected to a satellite that's also flying really fast. And I'm saying hashtag firmament, the structure above the stationary level Earth. We're not spinning 1,000 miles an hour with upside down people in Australia in relationship to us. The globe is a lie. The globalists use it as a focal point of how they can bamboozle humanity. Remember hearing how there were upside down people in relationship to us? Do you ever remember thinking about that? An upside down world in relationship to us here? Did you ever think about it?
As far as the planet Earth being
Supposedly spinning 1,000 miles an hour. Have you ever thought about that? Shit would be flying everywhere. Out of porta potties, toilets, off a tennis ball at the beach, and meanwhile, we've got unmanipulated.
that's a big planet.
It's a big lie. It's the biggest, one of the biggest lies ever. And it's a big red horse pill. It's unpopular because if that's true, then we live in a created world, in a favored place. I'm a born again Bible believing Christian. I'm not a phony baloney snake oil salesman.
So why do you believe in that?
I found it to be true. Not only in the archaeological.
So there's a lot of things you think are conspiracies, but that is something that I think is bullshit. But you believe in that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of bullshit religion.
Jesus Christ?
What's that?
Jesus Christ?
I believe he's real. He lives in and through me. He's the almighty creator.
You don't think he was a con artist?
Absolutely
the person
not.
Jesus.
What's that?
The person Jesus, not God, but the man Jesus.
I believe he's real and authentic. And he is the creator that took up flesh and
What
dwelt
makes you
in.
believe that, then?
He does. He does.
You didn't meet him. I mean,
Well,
he lived thousands of years ago. So why would you believe? And there's been a lot of people like him, a lot of con artists.
not like him. I mean, there's a lot of deceivers and con artists
So
for
why
sure.
is he the exception? Out of all the thousands or millions of con artists, you believe this one person that you never met?
Well, I did.
Just-
I met him. He lives in and through me. I mean, I was
But
addicted.
saying, okay, you say that.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the person.
So the Holy
There
Spirit.
was a guy,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that had followers.
Yeah.
I believe he was the Son of God.
Absolutely. But he's more than the Son of God. He's the living Word that took up
Why
flesh.
do you believe that?
He caused me to believe that. I understand it's circular logic. You're looking at a guy that struggled with.
Why do you think he was not a con artist that tricked his followers and then his followers?
I'm trying
lied
to.
other people?
I'm trying to get there, Jerry. I used to be addicted to my own self pleasure and self effort, and now I have a power I previously didn't have. I know that it would be like.
Why do you not believe that was yourself, and why do you?
I mean, I'm 62 years old, and I had a lot of time to try to give it my best shot. I raced professional level motocross. I know what it's like to have high performance capabilities, and I know what it's like to have a boost, a way increased level of operating in the flow in a power that I previously didn't have.
You could call that a lot of things. You could meditate. You could have yoga. You could focus. You could pray to, not necessarily pray to that, but I mean it's have faith in humanity, not have faith.
Well, so there's a part of this whole thing is having this.
You're just attributing something that you accomplished to something else. But if that's what you want to do.
Well, so like we're a bit of a science and social experiment, and we're in a battlefield. Would you agree that there's good and evil? Well,
there's people.
doing good things and evil things, right?
That's subjective. What's good and evil?
Well, war
What
looks.
I could say is good. You could say is evil. What I say is evil. You could say is good.
So, like, for
definitely
example, do you believe war is evil
No,
in essence?
the war is for a purpose. Who's on? There's different sides of the war.
Perhaps a good side and a bad side?
It depends on your perspective.
But would you agree?
Whoever's fighting is fighting for what they consider to be good. They're fighting somebody else, and they're the opposite side believes the same thing for themselves. So
How about hurting innocent people, men, women, and children? Is that, do you believe, good or bad?
you could say it's bad, but it's
So, in some of the critical thinking and, how would you say, trying to work out the details of pragmatic, the greater good, sometimes somebody dying can save a lot of lives. That's the pragmatic approach that the military largely gives its populations. We need to do this because if we don't do this, there's going to be a problem. In other words, the race to build super intelligence is going on because the view by Sergey and Elon is if we don't, somebody else is going to do it. And I know Elon is wanting to warn us about that AI is way more dangerous than nukes. I totally agree with him. I'm not hating on Elon. I've actually tried to reach out to him for years. Sent him a package with me photoshopped in the official Roadster and the Cybertruck on the back that I ordered. I would like to see the reality of perpetual driving machines and the truth be known about everything. Full disclosure.
But you would have to have some science behind you, not just.
I do. It's in my research library.
If you made a car that could do it, I'm sure he would take a look at it.
So it's been,
If you, I mean, I don't know if you're a scientist, but I mean, if you could.
in the truest sense of the word, I am a scientist, in that a fearless investigation of truth.
There would be people that were interested in something that, if you had an amazing technology, I'm sure there were people that would take a look at it. But if you're just telling me about it.
Right.
Can you show me anything?
In my research library, absolutely, and you can call me anytime. So the landing video on my channel is called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. To avoid censorship and my channel getting taken down, I've put hyperlinks in the comment thread that will go to platforms that can freely express what I can't talk about here. One of those videos is me photoshopped in the Roadster talking about the onboard hydroxygen generation and the Stanley Meyer technology. It's banned on, it's blocked on YouTube. And so it's very sophisticated in the way that I've seen a lot of videos banned or blocked.
Misinformation?
That's what they say, but I found out that it was trying to help me think that it was there and it was not there. I could see it in the thumbnails looking like it was there when other videos get the 3 dots and it says private or deleted. On mine, it showed that it was there, and I thought, why is nobody commenting on it? And I clicked in the through my YouTube studio and found out that it was blocked. It was blocked by Odyssey.
So if I describe myself as a skeptic, how would you describe yourself?
As a skeptic as well.
But so me as a skeptic, I don't believe things unless you pass a threshold of evidence and you know, I don't just take a word on it.
That's great.
So the conspiracies that you told me about, what made you believe? What made you go from being a skeptic to being a believer?
Well,
Because I don't really believe in anything. You haven't, told me anything. I mean, I had all the conspiracies that are there, but I remain a skeptic.
that's,
So why do you go from being a skeptic to being a believer?
well, I'm still, it's just who I'm skeptical of. An effective deception has a high concentration of truth. For the more cerebral, college, academic, it's going to have big words, it's going to have eloquent speech, and plenty of documentation.
You're talking about psychology.
Neuroscience, nutrition.
Psychology, making a person believe it. That's all you're really talking about.
Well-
If I tell you something, do you believe it or not? That's just psychology. Not necessarily like, it doesn't matter what we're talking about, what the topic is, what the conspiracy is. Are you going to believe it or not? Can you be convinced?
Well, if I've
That's all that really matters, is if you believe it. It doesn't matter if it's true, it just matters if you believe it.
well, not necessarily.
It does matter because because we're sitting here talking about it.
So
It doesn't matter if any of these conspiracies are true, or I could just make something up right now. All that matters is if I can convince you and you believe it.
So
Then you become a follower, and then you go tell somebody else about it.
what I would say as a caveat to that is, where will you?
Hypnotism, you believe
Sure,
that?
of course.
So that's all it is. It's just psychology, convincing a person.
Where will you spend forever and why? Is this all there is to you? Is this all there is to me? I believe not.
What makes you believe that?
I believe we have a soul, a spirit.
You can believe whatever you want to believe.
Oh yeah.
The evidence for it. There isn't any.
People that are willing to die for what they believe in doesn't necessarily mean what they believe is true. There's contradictory perspectives that people die for.
Stuff. People die for YouTube videos to be funny or entertaining. Dying doesn't matter life isn't really.
Contradictory perspectives can't both be true. They may both be wrong. There may be another possibility that's not one of, door number 1 or 2, or these opposing views may both be incorrect. Some are worshiping at the altar of
I
AI.
didn't really make a statement though. You said, where do you? What was your?
Where will you spend? Because ultimately,
So the evidence, in reality, is that we die and you'll go to the ground. I mean, if you want to believe that there's a soul or an afterlife, that's a whole different belief. But that's your belief. There's no evidence for it.
well,
If you're going to present me something with zero evidence, how are you going to convince me?
well,
Somebody has convinced you.
The-
Somebody has convinced you that there's a soul and an afterlife and whatever you want to believe. If you want to believe that, but they didn't present you with any evidence.
keep in mind, I used to be an atheist, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, baby. I was rolling, having all kinds of fun, doing all kinds of
So
stuff.
Why stop?
Well, because I found out that was an empty self.
But that's a personal experience.
Yeah, I've
So
seen.
you can't speak for.
I've only gone to a lot of AA meetings from California to here.
That's a personal experience.
That's part of it, but that's not the only evidence. Archaeological evidence of Noah's Ark in the mountains of Ararat, the Sodom and Gomorrah. Ron Wyatt discovered these archaeological evidences, and a lot of mystery with history. We didn't have cowboys with horse-drawn buggies build marble castles. They're lying about the official narrative.
Okay. So going back to Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah, okay.
Tell me about this person.
I believe he's the living word that took up flesh, dwelt among us. I believe the prophecy.
That would be, in all of the billions of people that have existed throughout time, this is the one person, right?
He's the God that took up flesh.
Okay. So of all the liars, you agree that people lie, right?
I know they do.
So why do you believe this and this is truth and everything else is a lie? Why would you believe that?
That's an excellent
Why
question.
would you believe that is also a lie? Wouldn't that make more sense to believe that, hey, I know that people lie for whatever reasons.
So
they want followers, they want power, narcissism. To say that you're God or the Son of God, I mean, that's a little, far out there. But why would you believe? Why wouldn't you believe if I told you that?
Okay, so here's my answer. I believe God's grace is required to love and believe the truth, let alone find it. It's not something I did. It's what he did in and through me. It's a discernment that he gave me to believe that is true, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. I found it to be true, not only the archaeological evidence, the foretelling of future events, and the carrying out of those, prophecy and fulfillment, the archaeological evidence, the nature of our reality from the biblical narrative is true, and the official narrative of that much of humanity believes is a lie. I've got proof of it on my profiles, not just YouTube, it's Facebook
all
and
those things that you just said is not real evidence. That's things that are personal to you. You're like personal experiences. I felt this.
Do you know who Saul of Tarsus was? He became Paul the Apostle. He was overseeing Christians being executed, and then he had an encounter on the road to Damascus, apparently according to the Bible, and his life was changed. These timid fishermen went from being wimps to being empowered by the Holy Spirit to bring about change in the world.
Again, you're talking about just psychology, people having experiences, feeling things, but it's not any evidence. It's just you're telling me stories about people that I've never met, the people that you've never met. You read the story from somewhere else. Why do you believe this? To be fact.
I believe God gave me the gift of faith to believe it's true. It's not something Satan's children get. There's two families.
Well, let's take out. If we're debating about whether it even exists, you can't say I believe it because Like that's not going to work.
He caused me to believe it's true. I believed my parents
But
telling
that's
me,
personal experience. That's
yeah.
not going to convince me because I'm looking like tell me why. You got to give me something here.
Well, just be.
So without that, without your side of the argument, I'm going to say that well, Jesus was a guy just like any like. There's been a lot of prophets, a lot of people just like him throughout time, and still throughout time. If you're a charismatic person and you can speak well, you're going to get followers. Being in the right place at the right time. If you get enough followers, they go get more followers. It's like a pyramid scheme.
He healed people. He rose them from the dead. He rose from the
But I
dead
didn't see
himself.
that. Who saw that?
Well, people that
Nobody
were
saw-
willing to die for it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything to me.
That's your prerogative. I'm
Why does that
constrained.
mean something to you then?
Well, because
Look, today people die all the time and nobody cares. I could say, hey, I'm Jesus Christ. Like, are you fucking ready to die for me today? And I might be able to convince somebody too. I mean, because if you're really good at that, if you're really good at selling, being a snake oil salesman, a
Yeah.
con artist, you can fool people.
it
And
happens.
especially 2,000 years ago when people were ignorant, you can convince people of all kinds of stuff. Magic, demons, gods, vampires, whatever. People who believe it was supernatural. They had no education back then.
Part of the evidence is the hatred for Christianity and the focal
I'm talking
point.
about very origin of it.
Yeah.
Christianity came from Jesus Christ, right? So if it's all based on the bullshit of this one person, the entire foundation is bullshit. And it didn't just start with him. I mean, there was religions before him. He was a Jewish person.
There's a smorgasbord of spirituality that humanity is
But
dining on.
Why believe in anything? Why believe in especially now in the modern age with all the technology you have, why would you believe in anything supernatural that you can't see and touch?
How about the computer updates you get on your car? Can you see them? How in the heck does your phone work? Do you see information flying through the air? There's forces at work that you don't acknowledge to be true or real. And I believe they are. And so,
Again, going psychology, you can believe whatever you want to believe.
I know.
Because that's in your own mind. You can believe the fucking sky is.
Did you
red.
used to believe Santa Claus was going to bring you toys or a lump of coal? Did you buy that? I did. Did you?
So you're gullible.
No, a lot of children believed the Santa lie.
Yeah, but you were a child, and you're not a child anymore.
Correct.
Are you? Children are gullible because they don't have.
I'm very
information.
skeptical of a whole bunch of bullshit.
It doesn't sound like you're skeptical. It sounds like you're.
I know the government lie, the world government that's running
Yeah.
behind the
That's
shadows.
the only thing that I do know is that people lie. That's the only thing that I do know.
Yeah.
People lie. So I'm not going to believe anybody, you, Jesus Christ, because there's a high chance that they're liars.
I've survived multiple near-death experiences, and I'm grateful for
Like
that.
I said, I'll just end with that. People are liars. That's what
Yeah, I
So
know.
Before you believe anybody,
Right.
anybody, you have to prove everything without any doubt. And that goes for Jesus. He's a liar just like anybody else, right? You can believe
Well,
otherwise,
I
you
don't
can
believe he's
otherwise,
I don't
but
believe he's a liar. I just want to be clear about that.
That's what I believe.
I understand that.
I believe that because I know for a fact that people are liars. So why would that be the one exception? I'm not going to make any one exception with no evidence. I'm not going to make that.
I've got a
because
lot of evidence in my research library about the truth of who he is.
I don't think. Well, the type of evidence that you just told me is something that personal to you. You're like, I felt this.
Well,
I
what
believe
about
it because you want to believe it. You can believe anything that you want
do
to
you
believe.
do you
That
know
is
what a
psychology.
prophecy is?
A prophecy? Sure.
What is it?
A prediction?
Yes. How about when it follows through to be true?
I mean, I can make some vague general predictions.
These are real specific about the life of Christ.
Not necessarily, but I could say in the next 100 years there's going to be a war. I will probably be correct, right?
Yeah, that's really
I'll
too
probably be
vague.
correct. There is going to be a war.
It's happening now.
Sure.
Prophecy and
So
fulfillment
I'm
of
a prophet.
in your own mind. So
but not just in my own mind. I don't care about. I don't believe in prophets.
So what do you
The
believe
goal is to
happens
convince.
when you
The
die?
goal is to convince other people.
What do you believe happens when you die?
You die.
That's it?
End of story.
What if you're wrong?
What if?
Well, then you may be able to reflect on this. And did you really look
What
into
would
it?
be the purpose?
Well, because eternity is a long time to regret.
I mean, so I don't know, man. I mean, that's a lot to.
Unpack. You know what? I really appreciate your candor, and
This is the time we have on Earth to accomplish earthly things. I mean, you could, if it's fascinating to think about what may or may not be, that's fine. But it takes away, for sure. Some people devote their whole life to be a priest or something. If it was bullshit, you're like, well, what regrets might you have? Okay, well, what if you became a nun or a priest? I mean, what would you have sacrificed for something that turned out to be bullshit? Would you have regrets? That's kind of how you present it to me. You're like, oh, would you regret it? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they would if they found. I mean, but
well, so like, would you rather, if there was a heaven and a hell,
so just to be safe,
would you rather?
you're like, oh well, just to be safe, I'll go ahead and devote my life to this, just to be okay, because I don't want to spend eternity. Okay, so they built.
That's
something,
not how I got
they
here.
built something on fear, right?
That's not how I
They
got
built
here.
something on the fear that you're going to regret it for eternity. That's a fear. So like you're like you don't want to. You better be safe than sorry. You better.
I remember what it was like having
that's
what
kind
I
of a-
thought
that's
was
kind of a- that's
fire
kind of a-
insurance.
So that's
It's
kind of a bullshit tactic. Fear, right?
well, false evidence appearing real. Fear, false evidence appearing real. I
Okay.
understand there's a place for it. There's also situational awareness.
Yeah, but that's kind of it goes back to like the basic preying on people's weaknesses, fear. You don't want to burn in hell, do you? You don't want that.
I've seen
You
miracles.
wouldn't want to burn in hell, would you?
No.
You don't want your kids to burn in hell, your mom.
So
So
my
you better get your ass to church. You better start believing, right? That's a shitty tactic. That's a shitty way to go.
some people sell it like that. I'm not selling anything.
Even right now, they'll hand out papers and it says, "You don't want to burn in hell, do you?"
I understand that.
That's and the same reason that kids, like you said, believe in Santa Claus. If you tell a little kid that, they're scared. Why would you scare people like that into believing on your cause? That's something that makes me turn against it completely. You're gonna scare little kids, and those little kids grow up, and that's a bad way to go for generations.
Do you
People are
believe in
scared.
that there is truth?
I believe there's more lies than truth.
I agree. We agree. We agree on that. Trying to sort through it all is a real challenge because there's a notion of deception all around us with a little bit of truth.
But it sounds like you're quick to believe.
That what?
You're quick to believe that.
Well, it depends what it is, what the information is. If it's coming from NASA, I'm not quick to believe it. If it's coming from the official narrative that's promoting something I know to be false, I'm not quick to believe that. However,
You believe something.
I do. I prefer the truth, as best I can tell. It's what I've.
Why not just call it all lies and don't believe any of it? You're safer that way. Because there's a chance that you're going to believe in something that's false. I mean, it says truth right here on
Yeah.
the car,
Absolutely.
but you don't know that.
Best I can tell, that's what I'm putting out there. I'm exposing the truth about everything. You've done a very thorough job of expressing your skepticism.
Right?
I'm skeptic as well.
Yeah, I think you should be more skeptical.
I understand that.
More. Because, like I said, there's no reason for me to believe any. If somebody is coming to me to convince me of something, they're going to have to go a long way to convince me and get me on board with anything.
Right.
Anything.
Have you ever gone to a timeshare presentation? Gone through one of them?
Yeah.
So I have too. This is not that.
Okay.
what I've done is I've found something so valuable to me, and I believe to people that have been set free from their own enslavement or the enslavement to their own self effort or self pleasure. That's part of the evidence of what I found to be real and true. Set free from a life of addiction. I could not stop doing things that I knew were
But that's
wrong.
just human behavior. Human.
Well,
There's nothing beyond a human. Like you describe something that's just human, like me and you. Where do you get this leap to go to anything supernatural? That's a huge leap.
I found there to be supernatural realities in this realm that we live in.
I haven't found that though.
Maybe you
I
will,
found the
Jerry.
opposite of it. I mean, even talking to you right now, you just described human things. I mean, humans, you know.
Coincidental doesn't necessitate causal. Just because we attribute one thing to what we believe it is doesn't necessarily make it true. I understand that. Just you may be attributing my freedom from drugs and alcohol and all that to my own effort. I tried that for years. I found something that's way more powerful than any drug, any coke or
And
meth
you're
or.
not the only person who would have that same story. Like, okay, I became a drug addict at this point in my life, and then I found whatever. So like you hit rock bottom, and then you whatever. I mean that's a lot of people have that same story. Okay, well you had some epiphany at
Yeah.
this time.
So the short version I'll share with you is I thought I was born again in 1982 until I actually was in 2014. I had fire insurance until then. That idea of I don't want to burn in hell. Then when I found out the reason I struggled so much with my human nature is that's all I had until I had more. That would be my experience. That's my testimony. It's what.
So I would say um, why not deal with your human issues, your psychological issues, whatever issues that you have. I mean, if you feel like you need to look elsewhere or to supernatural things, I mean, that's something that you personally did, but I see no purpose, and I actually see harm coming from like why not deal with things that we, you know, I feel like that's the wrong way. I mean, if it worked for you, that's great, but like I just feel like
I've seen a lot of problems with modern psychology and the drugging of humanity and the
I don't believe
experimentation.
in drugs, treatment, or
Yeah,
treating
the
issues with drugs. I don't really believe in that,
cool.
but you, I mean, there's just a cause and effect. You did something that I guess you enjoyed it, and you have the responsibility of controlling things. Either things get out of control, or you can manage it, or you can't manage it. But that's on you. Some people can, some people can't manage it.
The toughest drugs to.
But that's just a basic part of life. How do you manage your life? And if you're like, oh well, I couldn't manage my life got out of control, and then I started to look elsewhere for things. But you didn't need to look elsewhere. I mean, just fucking manage your life. I mean, get your shit together. You could say it a lot of different ways, but the cause and effect is the same, or the consequences are the same. You know.
So
I mean, if you commit a crime,
do the time
yeah.
if you get
There's
caught. No.
consequences. So I mean, you could say, you can get your shit together for yourself. You can get your shit together for your family, or you can get your shit together for an invisible force in the sky.
I was able to trade in.
But all the consequences are the same. But if you want to attribute it to whatever, I did this for my family.
If all I was going to be
myself,
was.
or if I did this for God. I mean, it's just like you're.
So if I were to just be compost when this is over with, then it really wouldn't matter so much. I believe there's
This is your
more.
time right here. This is your time.
Well, I
However
believe
you
there's.
use your time, if you think it was a waste or if you don't think it wasn't a waste, I I mean, that's up to you if you feel like your life is wasted. Obviously, there's people that have accomplished great things throughout history, and we still talk about them today. We still talk about,
Have you ever asked Jesus if he's actually real?
well, you're gonna have to make a distinction between Jesus and God. If you use the word Jesus and God as being the same thing,
I do.
okay, well that's where there's a distinction. There's a person, Jesus, and God is two different things.
So do you?
Whether or not even, and I'm not saying I believe in God, but it's still two completely different things. You have God, and then a person that made a claim. So if you're going to say this is one and the same, that's where.
Well, he claimed to be God.
Yeah,
Now, do you
people.
have a belief that
It's a pretty
that
fantastic
God is
belief.
real? That there is a true God that created all this?
I don't.
How do you believe it got here?
Um, I mean, there's science to or there's some theories to explain that, but I mean, it's the existence of the universe. There's definitely a lot of shit besides Earth and besides us.
Yeah, how did it all get here?
Why is it there?
So this could
Doesn't-
happen.
Doesn't really seem like it has a lot of purpose, or it's very well. You got one planet that people can live on, and billions of planets that people can't live on. So why make a bunch of shit that doesn't support life? You got a whole everything that we've seen out there is deadly, right? You go out in space, you die. Planets are either too hot or too cold. You got one planet out of billions. Like that was created that way. Why would you do it that way?
I don't know how
Why
many.
would you make something 100,000 light years away so nobody can ever get to it? Why would you make it that way? I mean, like he sat up there and thought about it, and he's like, "This is how I'm going to make it." Like why would you do that?
Well, I believe the Bible is true and Jesus is who he says he is, and
Why?
well, he gave me the gift of faith that that is true.
Okay, well let's set that aside. Why would you believe that?
Because of,
So if there is a person just like me, if I tell you something, but you're not going to believe me, though, right?
well,
If
it
I
depends
said the
what
same
you
thing,
tell me.
you wouldn't believe me.
It depends what you're telling me.
I'm the Son of God. I mean, why would you question?
Well, for one, because you've told me that you don't believe that that's true, that whole,
I was just testing if you have faith. So now I'm going to reveal myself to you.
how is that? What do you want to do?
I'm just bullshitting with you.
I've enjoyed it.
I've met a lot of people. I used to work with a magician, right? I used to work with a hypnotist. I used to work with a chiropractor, a doctor. So those are a couple people, examples of people that I've seen. A magician could do tricks right in front of your eyes, right? Right in front of you. Well, okay? So that's a power, right?
It can be more than an
Power of
illusion.
hypnotism is making somebody believe things, right? That's a power. The chiropractor, what I say, a fake doctor, a snake oil salesman, but he can heal people. He can heal people by touch.
Yeah.
So these are all things that Jesus Christ that give him credibility. If you look at the stories, Jesus healed people. He did these magic tricks, right? He convinced his followers. I've met people now that can do those same things. I know a guy that can heal people by touching them, just like Jesus did. It's not true. It's not real, but people believe it. That's all that matters, that people believe it. It doesn't matter if it's true.
I believe the short version is truth. The truth matters.
It only matters what you believe, because it's true to you. It doesn't matter if it's actually true. It just matters that you believe it.
Well, not if it's not true.
But that doesn't matter because you already believe it. It's true to you. You're convinced that it's true. So far that you're willing to fight and convince other people. So not only is it not true, but you believe it's true, and you're ready to go convince other people that it's also true.
So what I've done with that is put together a research library that
again, and these are my personal experiences.
Right.
This doctor, he's not a real doctor. But if you have patients that go in there and you say, hey, this guy is great. He can do miracles, right? And eventually they're like, oh yeah, okay. I'm in pain. I need somebody to take away my pain. I'm looking for a miracle. And that's really what it is. If you're looking for something, and then you've got this other person that's selling what you're looking for, bam. You know, you've got followers, and then you've got this one person. These people are ready to believe anything. The followers, they're looking for this. And it doesn't matter what the message is. I mean, you could be Hitler, right? Hitler convinced a lot of people, and he got his own followers.
Absolutely.
He did what Jesus Christ did, right? By being a good speaker and being charismatic and getting up on the podium and convincing people, they're ready to do whatever you tell them to do. They just want
Their method was very different.
They just want to.
However, to compare Jesus and Hitler, there was a very big difference in their way they did what they did.
I'm just telling you, you've got people that want to follow.
I want to thank you for that example. That was really what a parody. What an example of.
I mean, did he not accomplish his? I mean, he convinced a lot of people to follow him. He about took over the whole fucking world. You know, he almost did.
He's
so you're talking about the power of public speaking, the power of charisma. You know, there's some hypnosis to it, the power of psychology, but those are all human things, and it's been repeatable throughout history, not just one time with Jesus. That wasn't a one-time thing.
Have you ever seen demonic possession on a video?
I mean, I'm telling you, like,
or
Jesus,
face to face?
Jesus wasn't a one-time thing. You've got because, and the problem with Jesus is there was no cameras, there was no video evidence of that. You've only got old stories, but you can go to a more recent example, like a person like Hitler. You have video of that. You know what happened, and it's the same deal. If you get up on a podium and speak, people will start coming in, and then those people go tell other people. Same thing happened, and it will continue to happen because it's a human behavior.
There's spiritual.
Humans are seeking something, and then when you get this person that's ready to dish it out to them, they're just ready to receive it. It doesn't matter what the message is. It doesn't matter if it's spiritual or political or whatever. They're ready to listen. You've got followers, and you've got the person that's ready to manipulate people. And if you're not smart enough to figure out things for yourself, you're gonna like, hey, I need guidance. I need somebody.
There's plenty of.
I don't need guidance, or I don't need to listen to anybody because I can figure shit out for myself. But if you're ready to go listen to somebody, then that's what the issue is.
There's plenty of smart yet deceived individuals.
Well, how smart are they really?
That's correct. If they're
you say they're smart, but maybe they're not really smart.
well, society gives them credentials, and they can earn a lot.
That doesn't mean they're not smart to me.
Albert Einstein,
Okay.
he was part of a deception, part of a grand illusion.
Maybe.
I believe so. So we've got Richard Dawkins. I believe he's part of a grand illusion. Darwin and evolution.
I mean, they had a theory of evolution, and you can accept it or not. They presented an option. If
Not in school, man. I was presented that as fact. That's what I was presented, that evolution was true, and I found it to be bullshit.
I mean, it doesn't seem too far off. You can see nature adapt to things.
Adaptation is not transitional beings. We still got monkeys.
Yeah.
We still got monkeys, man.
I mean, I think over time, thousands of years, biological organisms adapt to their surroundings. You know, I don't see any reason to. You know, I do believe that makes sense. You know,
So
we will adapt to our surroundings over generations, and you know, that I don't have any problem believing that.
So just so you know, Jerry, I don't view it as my responsibility to change your mind. That's not why we're doing this. What I want to...
But you have, I mean, I don't want to believe any, I don't want any person to believe or devote their life to something that's false.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do, because I've come to believe that much of humanity is unaware of the battle we're in.
But
And
the problem is, like I said, a lot of people, that's irrelevant to them. To most, like you could say 99% of the people in the world, it's irrelevant
it could be.
because they don't care what's true and not true. They just want to, be happy or whatever, be satisfied or be content. And if it's to go to church on Sunday and just believe it, just believe it. That's way easier. If seeking out the truth and all this shit, I mean, like I'd say 99.9% of the people in the world, it's going to be irrelevant. It's going to be lost.
I would agree with you.
They're not going to ask all these questions.
That's true. I believe that's true. Most people are oblivious to it. Don't care, they don't know, and they don't know, they don't know. And they don't care, they don't know.
And that's fine.
That's why I created cards and
I mean, it
put
can
this
go both
out there,
ways,
and
though. They could be those people could be followers, for your cause. They could go out and you could convince them of something because they don't think too much. You say something and they look, okay, they're not going to think about it too much. And you can tell them to do whatever. You can tell them to go kill somebody. Like, okay.
I want
You told me to do
people
it.
I want people to live their life. I want to live my life based on the pursuit of truth, knowing and exposing the truth about everything, because I believe it matters, Jerry. That's part of the example that I believe that this is real, is my changed life. As much as I look at the other reasons for my belief, the one that I appreciate the most is my changed life. That's all.
Right, but I mean that was just you accomplished that. That was something that you accomplished. If you want to attribute it to something else, that's fine, but you accomplished it. You're taking away your own accomplishments.
So I tried the best I could, as hard as I could, and I was a different guy. It's the weirdest thing to try and convey to somebody else. I'll try and do what I can. I'm not the guy that I used to be. I've been changed. I've been radically changed internally. Things that I used to not like, I like, and vice versa.
That happens.
Things.
That's a normal thing to happen, but in time, because you go through when you get older, like hey, like I was a different person when I was 20 years old.
I understand that.
That's a normal thing. That's natural. That's not an unnatural thing. So that happens to most people.
I mean, I would be
So,
really.
you get they say the midlife crisis. That's a midlife where you can reflect on
Yeah.
your earlier life and then reflect on the rest of your life. That's normal. I would say that most people go through that. And again, it's psychological. It's not anything more than that. So if you want to attribute it to something else, but you're taking away from your own accomplishment. If you have an issue and you overcome that issue, that was your accomplishment. And you could say, hey, I prayed for it. Like, well, what is praying? I mean,
What do you believe it is?
that was something that you focus and you try, and if you overcome it, then I mean that's something that you accomplish.
So I used to see prayer as me talking to God. Seems legit, right? Wouldn't you think that's pretty common? Well, I've come to believe that it's more listening to him than talking to him. And that still small voice inside that he helps me he leads and directs me to do.
That's really yourself.
Well, that's your perspective of it, or your
You can
belief
believe
of it.
whatever you want, but you're saying, well, this thing that probably doesn't exist.
I wouldn't say like
But
that.
I know you do exist. I know. I'm looking at you. You do exist. So that voice came from you. That makes sense to me. You were real. This other thing is probably not real. That voice came from you. Probably not from this thing that doesn't exist. I'm not going to make a leap to believe in anything just because there's no reason for it. I see you, and I believe that you told yourself, and
Can you see the wind?
I mean, you're kind of getting, you're kind of grasping at straws there if you want to make that comparison about,
Well,
like, about things that
that's the
the
example
wind is not supernatural.
the Holy Spirit is. That's
Okay,
the
okay, so
analogy.
again, you're making a leap. That's an analogy that's
Well, it's
like,
something invisible that has a force.
I mean, to a certain degree, wind is something we can again touch and feel, and you know, but I mean, if you're talking about something that's created and imagine, you know, these ideas, you didn't come up with these ideas. These ideas were created and handed to you by somebody else, right? You read about them.
Sometimes it's like I even
Right?
mentioned it in the.
Like these ideas are not, you know, people have been inventing gods since all of mankind. They've been inventing gods. The sun is a god, rain is a god, the sky is a god. You know how people used to do that? Right?
Absolutely.
It came from ignorance because they didn't know what the sun was.
So
They
when
didn't
I
know what the sky, but we're not ignorant anymore. So why continue those ancient beliefs? Because they're ancient from ignorance.
Well, true as whether it's ancient or current. But what I was going to say is when I was sitting over there, I was talking about real time updates like in a Tesla. You can get a, I've got a friend who's got a brand new Model Y and he paid some money to activate performance features in the motors. And I said, I use that as an example to say I want real time updates from the Holy Spirit, from God leading me to do what He wants me to do. I believe I get that. I was driving away, I was going to ride off into the sunrise, and I said, I'm just going to go around and I'm going to pull next to that car and meet that individual. And it turned out to the longest interaction with some of the most challenging skepticism I've faced audibly to me personally in a rather eloquent and uh, you've you've looked at this.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've thought about it quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I respect that. I respect that. What may happen, Jerry?
I just like to analyze the psychology of people. Like, what is going on in your mind? That's all this exists in your mind. So, like, me as an outsider, I'm looking at you and I'm studying you. What's going on in this person's head? Why does he believe the things that he believes? That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
No more than that.
So
You know, if you talk about conspiracies, things that may or may not be true, may or may not exist, I'm just looking at you and studying you, and why do you believe these things? Like, what has happened to you in your life that has led you to this point?
near-death experiences are part of the equation. I've had multiples, and I wanted to know why. Why did why did I live through them? What's my purpose? Why am I here? How does this work? I've been asking that for a long time, Jerry.
I mean, I think things happen randomly. You know, if you're at the wrong time at the wrong place, you might, you know, something might drop on your head. You know, but if you want to put a purpose into it or fate or anything, I mean, you're kind of inventing things. I mean, I think you know, you could get in a car accident, but you're you know, it's all kinds of stuff happen every day, but it's not anything more than what it is. If you want to attribute things to it, you know, like, oh, like,
Providence. Like, have you watched the movie The Matrix? So I've got quite a few links in my research library to engage the heart and mind. Remember when Morpheus is talking to Neo and he said he said, do you believe in destiny? And he says no, because he says why? He says because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control. And Morpheus says, I know exactly what you mean. And I understand that. That's part of the human condition is humanity, at least my experience, I wanted to be in control. I found out that I was.
so like if something was going to drop on your head, right? That's the physics, right? You got that's all explained by science. Gravity, whatever. You were walking by the wrong place, something fell on you, killed you. If it was 5 seconds before or 5 seconds after, you would have been all right. You would have had that near-death experience. That's the only thing that's separating death from a near-death experience. You know. from life or death, but it's somewhat random.
Well, there can be providence as well if it's in. I believe it to be true, and you don't seem to believe that it is. You believe in a more random occurrence rather than
Now you can also be somewhat responsible and put yourself in. You could avoid
absolutely
some near-death experiences, or you could have a lot of near-death experiences depending on how you live your life.
right.
So again, you know, you're talking about all kinds of factors here that you have to consider. You can't just say I had a near-death experience and God was looking out for me and He saved me. Well, what? I mean, tell me more about that. What were you doing? Were you at somewhere you shouldn't have been?
Well, okay,
Were you doing something that you shouldn't have been doing? Were you
yeah,
driving?
so
Did you overdose on a drug? Because a lot of those you are in control of. You said, you know, I don't want to believe that I'm not in control. Hey, if you think about it, you probably were.
so the
You
probably the epicenter of my most profound near-death experience was while on pharmaceutical management of bipolar, taking medications as directed. They made me suicidal and homicidal, and I decided to end my life with a bottle and a half of Tylenol gel caps. And I went up to a room where I believed I was going to be found the next day. I wasn't planning on being discovered. And I came down the stairs falling and throwing up blue, and I got flown on a helicopter, life support. The helicopter that took me to Theta Clark in Neenah, Wisconsin, crashed and killed everybody on it shortly after, within the month of my being airlifted by that team. And I lived through the that poisoning, and they said it was a miracle that I survived it. Very few people do. At the time, I believe I was spiritually dead. I didn't have the born again experience that I thought I had. I thought that happened in 82. 2005 is a good bit ago. After I was born again in 2014, I was so radically changed internally, like us talking together here. I don't feel like I'm on the clock. Oh, I got other stuff to do. This right now is really important because I care about doing what God created me to do, and it's not based on your response, favorable or unfavorable. I'm just going along doing what I believe I need to, putting the decals on this car a couple days ago, and I have one that looked like it earlier, but it failed. It had a computer failure, needed an expensive replacement, and all of that. I've got a Lexus LS 400 that's been stickered up and viewed 40 million times through the Flat Earth International Conference series. They love to make fun of the truth, okay? And I believe the truth is, I believe it's stationary and level. That's a provable reality. We don't have, I was showing this bullseye level as one of the evidences of stationary and level. They level out all sophisticated welding and machines operating in factories. If they're not level, you got trouble. Okay? So you can't have level on a rotating water spheroid orbiting around at imaginary speeds. Multiple contradictory movements that have never been proven and can't be felt. So I found out that they were lying about that. It doesn't mean they lie about everything. They just lie about a lot. So the NASA War document, I don't believe everything NASA says. However, the NASA War document, I believe, is legit. I see it around me. The asymmetrical warfare, the corrupting of humanity with poisoning the food, water, air, and electronics. It's all part of the deal. So why do I believe some things and not others? That's a really good question. I actually go to the Holy Spirit and ask Him to help me to know what He wants me to believe, what He wants me to believe to be true. Ultimately, what we believe to be true. Even you believe in the non-existence of what I'm talking about.
I just said I believe in people and psychology, and you're picking and choosing what you want to believe for whatever reason.
Yeah. So
I'm
why
not,
why do
I'm
you
not
believe
really,
what you do?
I might not believe anything. I'm just observing other people. I'm more of an observer.
So when you say, okay, there's a conundrum here that's going on, I just want to help hold a mirror up to it. Is that
I'm just taking notes and
when you say you really don't believe in anything, that's a belief. Just saying.
okay. I mean, I believe in people.
Yeah,
I believe that people are full of shit.
I agree.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of bullshit going on.
I mean, that's my belief.
Yeah, well, we agree on that. There's a lot of deception all
Well,
around
we
us.
agree on that, but you believe a lot of stuff that I don't believe.
That's from your perspective, you can't see it yet. You may never see it.
Right.
However,
But I would if somebody, if it was presented to me in a way that I felt was believable, but it never has been.
so one of the things that I would share that I'm going to share with you, if you were to call me sometime and say, "Hey, this is Jerry. We met at the charging station," I would remember this for sure. I'll remember this for a long, long time, and I would add you to my contacts. So if you ever call, I would use the limited AI, although there's super intelligence involved in it. This is Jerry. I remember Jerry.
Yeah.
I would put Jerry from the charging station, Jerry with the Tesla. And you may come to a point where you go, you know what? I went from believing that was bullshit to now wondering if that may be true. I don't know. It's not based on a
It's
sales pitch from me.
it's been my experience that the older I get and the more I know, the more bullshit everything becomes.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And I mean, unfortunately, that makes can you be happy with that outlook in life? To be cynical or to believe that everything is bullshit? Well, yeah, you can be. Um, but I don't. I'm not going to jump to anybody's conclusions. It's a personal thing, and I like to observe other people and see what's going on with them.
So what we sounds like what we agree on is most of what's going on is bullshit. A lot of
To a certain
deception,
degree, to
right?
a certain degree. If you think the Earth is flat,
I'm saying
or that we
station
were lied to about it.
there's texture above and below sea level, at least 5 miles above and below sea level.
Yeah.
That's what I can observe. I can also observe water staying level and the sun, moon, and stars move. I can set a machinist
The
level.
Earth is really big, right?
Yeah, but we couldn't even play a game of billiards if we were spinning, wobbling, and gyrating, let alone taking a leak and not having it fly all over
The
us.
Earth is really big, right?
Apparently, yeah. I know
So when
2009.
things are really big, you don't feel those things that you described. It's not like you're in a car that's going 1,000 miles an hour. You're on a planet that's fucking huge. You're on a planet.
How can you have level on a rotating, orbiting object? How could you ever have level?
Gravity.
That's
I mean, the size of the planet
the story around gravity is
is
part of their secret sauce, part of their bullshit. It's more like electromagnetism.
I don't really have any reason to question that, though. That's not something that really, like, why
If you set a
question it?
bubble level down, it'll stay level and the sun, moon, and stars will move. Why doesn't the bubble move? Well, if you pick up a level even a little bit, the bubble will move. How can the Earth be spinning and the bubble stay in the middle? You could take this bullseye level and put it right in the middle. I'm doing it right now.
You understand how it works?
Yeah, water seeks level, exposes the reality of the nature of our world.
Okay.
They're lying about the spinning 1,000 miles an hour and orbiting 66.6 thousand miles an hour and all the contradictory movements that I've got in my research library that are supposed to be happening and have never been proven and cannot be felt. So they're lying about that. Why? Why would they lie? To hide God, to hide the nature of the need to be born again. That's how convoluted this asymmetrical warfare is. People go to battle because they're for reasons they believe to be true. I found out that they lied about all the wars. They've lied to their population about all the wars. There was deception involved in all of them. Yet when you drop a 19-year-old in a patch with people, from a Huey or wherever they drop them, and there's people shooting at them, what are they going to do? Well, when they drop people that are shooting at them, what are they going to do? They're going to kill each other. Some are going to come home. Some are not. Some are just going to die there. It happens a lot. War is terrible.
But it's been ever since humans have existed. There's always been wars. There's always been fighting. It's part of human nature.
And it's part of demonic nature. There's a fallen nature. There's a battle between good and evil.
But it was more about battling for land or battling for beliefs or whatever. And being, but I don't know for me to do anything. Why make the leap do anything supernatural? That's just a leap that I feel like it's unnecessary.
Well, the belief is based on a structure of reality, things that I've found to be true, not only in my own personal experience, it's the evidence that I've examined in the nature of the reality of the life, death, burial, resurrection of Jesus Christ, the prophecy and fulfillment, the hatred towards Christianity, the Antichrist agenda. Why would there be so much trouble with a belief that is nonviolent? Why that wants to reach out and help people? Why so much hate towards that? Now, I'm not.
I don't really see that though. I see that as the dominant accepted religion, and I see it's if you don't accept it, it's more trouble than it is to accept it. Obviously, we're having this conversation now. If I was just to say, yeah, Jesus, hell yeah, that would be way easier than for me to have a debate, right? Because it's the accepted religion. In the country that we live in, that is what is the dominant accepted religion. So for anybody to have a different opinion, they're going to have a much harder time. It would be way easier to accept it, and that's what most people do. Most people just go along with it.
I understand that.
So for me to oppose it, that makes my life much harder. That makes this whole conversation a lot harder. I could just be like, yeah, Jesus, we're all Christian here. We live in America, we're Christian.
Or you could.
That would be way easier, right?
It wouldn't be a reflection of who you and I really are, though.
No, but I could just avoid talking to people. Be like, yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Rock on. Whatever.
Yeah.
Peace.
Because that's all they want, to please them. And I'm not talking about you specifically, but anybody who's ever approached me. Have you been saved by Jesus Christ? Yeah. I'm good.
That's not my style.
I know, but I could save myself a lot because having a debate like this, it never gets anywhere.
Does it feel like a debate?
I can't get anywhere to you. Like I said, I can just observe people, but I'm never going to convince you of something that you don't want. Like you are set in your beliefs, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So
as well as you.
Not necessarily. If you told me something that didn't sound like bullshit, I would be totally on board with it. But you haven't told me a single thing. And I'm not, insulting you there, but it's just, I mean, that's anybody. There's millions and millions of people that believe these things, and none of them have ever presented it to me in a way that meant anything to me. In fact, the opposite. The more I believe, I'm like, okay, well, there's like a psychological thing going on with this person, and I could observe them. Well, why? I'm like taking notes, like
Yeah,
like
well,
like I'm at a zoo and like I'm observing the humans in a zoo. Okay, like what's going on with this?
Yeah, I get that.
Because I have to take that position of just like, you're like an animal or something, and this is some kind of experiment. Like what's going on with this? Okay, he believes this for this reason. This happened in this life in this year. And he had this experience, and now he believes this, okay? And then what does that mean to me? I mean, it doesn't mean anything to me personally, but this is like your life and your experiences, and it led to your beliefs. But it doesn't carry over to me. Like, hey, this is evident. This is why you should do this.
So you may have a change of perspective, and it may happen not really based on much of what I said. It
Maybe I mean a near-death experience to me at this point is not gonna.
No, it's my changed life. I mean, I'm grateful for that. That's
Yeah, you
that's
could,
why I
but,
do
but
this.
you attribute it. You could have that same changed life. You don't have to attribute it to anything else. You'd be like, I changed my life. I did this. I accomplished this.
Well, so
I
it works.
I did the work. I focused. I got my shit together. I got my life together. I did this. But you're going to attribute something that you did to somebody else.
But that's your belief on
that's
that.
Fine. That's fine if the outcome is positive. That's fine. But I think you're taking away from yourself. I think you're taking away, and I say that for anybody. If you accomplish something, you know, don't take something away from yourself that you did.
So
It's like okay, like people pray for their sports team. They're like, I hope my team wins. We got a big game. I hope we win. We're gonna pray before we go out and play. All the players in the locker room, they pray, right? So did God make that team win? Probably not. God probably didn't give a shit about sports or football. Probably didn't care at all. And the other thing is, for somebody to win, somebody else has to lose. I'm sure both teams prayed to win.
could very well be.
Not could very well be. It is. Somebody wins and somebody loses. They both prayed to God. It's not like God chose one team over the other team. God is not even there. They prayed. There's a placebo effect. That's what we're talking about. Is if you pray, I have strength. It's not just my strength. Now it's the strength of God and the supernatural person. This person's looking out for me. He wants me to win. And he, you know. And then when you win, you're like, yeah, like it worked. I prayed and it worked. But if you lose, you're like, okay, well, you know, you always try and explain it to yourself because that you're trying to explain your own beliefs to yourself.
Well,
But to anybody else, so like that example, yeah, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense that God, the creator of everything, cared about a football game to this team, and he chose one team over the other team. That doesn't make any sense. That's kind of silly, right?
so in the example of us,
But we still do it. We still do it because of tradition, or because of whatever, because of the perceived effect, the placebo effect. We still do it.
so like I mentioned earlier, I believe that praying for me is more listening than handing the Almighty a to-do list for what He wants, what I would like Him to do in the world and in my life. So one of the past,
That is an example of what people do.
oh yeah,
You know people do that.
absolutely.
And it's silly.
Yeah. So when I was growing up as a boy in
But-
Wisconsin,
But that same example of two sports teams. Well, what if you take that example to a war, where you've got two different sides of the war. They're both praying to win. They both feel like they're right. They're both praying to God. Hey, I want to win this war for my family, for my whatever, for my home, my land. And they're praying because they believe that they're right and that God is going to help them. That's what they believe. But you got the other side that is doing the same exact thing, and they're going to fight and kill each other. But it's a silly belief because you think God is really picking sides.
so
He's not, especially over land. Like God created His land, and then He's going to pick sides about who's going to win the land. He's not. There's no way. But people want to believe that because they're applying that to their own personal lives. Like this is what's going on in my life. I'm going to pray for whatever, but it's ridiculous.
I remember as a boy driving by outside of Appleton, Wisconsin on a silo. You know what a silo is? It said in big letters, "What will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul?" And that's what Jesus says to humanity. And I've thought about that for a long, long time. And in that period of believing that religion and Christianity were a fairy tale, and all this was made up stuff. That's what I believed. That served what I wanted to believe for a while. And then I got to a point of an end of myself. I didn't want to live anymore. And that was the first time I thought I was born again, was back in 1982. If this is all true, then me killing myself wouldn't be a good outcome. And then later on, after homeschooling our sons, marriage, we've got 3 adult sons now, and questioning, if I was truly born again, why was I struggling so much with my human nature, with my flesh? The answer I got was, that's all I had. I wasn't plugged into the power source. I wasn't born of the Spirit. I only thought I was. So I attributed to my own self-effort a work of God, which is exactly the opposite of what I believe is happening now. I'm attributing to to the Almighty, His work in my life. So I'm grateful for that. I don't get a commission. I don't get it's not like I get a spiff for spending some time talking to Jerry. It's like, man, I'm glad I did.
But I'm glad you mentioned that, because something that I've noticed, that people that have approached me, have you been saved? Have you done this? Let me pray for you. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the human psychology on that, there has to be some kind of, and I'm not saying anything about you. This is something that I've observed, that a lot of people have approached me with that. Like, let me pray for you. Have you been saved? Let me save you real quick.
Let me save you real quick. That's a classic.
Yeah. So there's a certain amount of narcissism, and like you're using that as a platform to get attention for yourself. Like, here, like let me lay my hands on you. Hey bud, come here. Like, let me do this for you.
Yeah, I don't see it like that.
I know you don't, but this is something I've observed.
Yeah.
So maybe this person
Has a Messiah complex.
there's something going on with this person, that they're going out. Here, let me do this for, like, let me save some people. How many people can I save today?
I don't see it like that at all.
Yeah. Okay, but they're approaching me like this, and I'm just observing them. There's something going on with these people. There's something going on mentally.
I agree.
And it's not good either. It's not a good thing. They're using all this as a platform for themselves. That's what I see.
It can be that way.
That's what I see.
Yeah. That goes on. It happens that people do ministry.
You'll see that in your own church. You'll see that in your own. If you go to church.
Not so much anymore. I'll go to the beach and
you'll meet people.
I remember it.
At your church, yeah, you'll see people like that.
I have.
Okay, well, there's something going on with this person, and it's not a good thing. It's not,
Right.
It's not really for God. It's for them.
Right.
They're using God, but they're actually trying to get something for themselves, and that's not good.
So
So you've got these like snake people, even within the church. If the church is 100% good and positive, you've got these people that you have to watch out for.
Snake oil salesmen, charlatans, they're marketing.
They might not even know their self.
That's correct.
Not even realize that they're self, but I do.
I agree with you, and that was part of what I've exposed in my library. You can look at are the snake oil salesmen as well when they're promoting another gospel.
You gotta be careful, because not just to go to church, but like if you ever work, like I mentioned a few people that in my life that I've worked with.
Right.
And when you see behind the curtain, you've got this whole operation going on. That's a big, you've got, if you run a church and there's 500 people or 1,000 people, like, you've got a big operation going on. It's a business at that point.
Yeah.
So if you work behind the scenes and you pull the curtain back and you're like, oh, okay, like now I can see everything. Just going to church and being a member, like, you're not really seeing everything. But when you pull the curtain back and you see everything, you're like, oh, okay, like, now I see it.
So
So there's a moment there where you're like, oh, like the reality.
Right. The reality is what I found disturbing.
It is going to be disturbing to, like, if you see it, because just like a magician. You know, if you the magician does a trick and then if he tells you how he did the trick, you're like, oh, okay. Now I see. It was just a trick. You just did some bullshit and it wasn't real. It's that kind of feeling. It doesn't feel good. It kind of takes a lot away from you. Like, oh. Like,
So
and I don't want you to have that feeling. You know, like all the stuff that gave you a positive feeling. I don't want to like pull the rug out from under you, but essentially that is the feeling that I've had. Is if somebody revealed like, hey, this is like what's really good, people like, oh shit, okay, you know, that kind of feeling. And it's you know, you can ignore it and live a positive life and be happy. And that's more important is that you're happy. If you're really seeking the truth, that's not always going to be a good thing. It's more, it's going to get kind of, you know, you're going to reveal the truth that you don't really want to see.
well, that
You can believe and ignore or whatever. It's more important that you're happy and that you have a good life, which is what you're doing. And that's more important. You don't to reveal the truth, the ugly truth of everything in the world. It's not going to make you, you know. Can you handle it? Can you keep going?
you can't handle the truth.
That might make you want to kill yourself too. Like, okay, everything is a lie. Everything is bullshit. Like
Most of it is.
Maybe, but
I think we're pretty close to agreeing on most of it is a lie. Most of it is deceptive.
But you know, because that's the nature of people. Because that's in people's nature is to deceive other people for whatever reason. So if anybody's going to come to me, they've got a long way to go.
So since you touched on the topic of let me save you, I know I don't save anybody. And I believe that the doctrine of election is true, that God created in his children a desire to know the truth more than anything else. And that happens. Predestination, there's a lot of scripture that talks about he causes his children to believe the truth and to not be deceived by this world system. So I understand that is even in the quote-unquote Christian way of thinking, that's pretty unpopular. So is biblical cosmology not being a globe. There's
nobody wants anybody asking too many questions or making too many waves.
Right.
You don't want that because it disrupts the whole operation.
That's why I go to the beach instead of a fixed.
So yeah.
And I talk to people out there. That's.
You got this operation going. You don't want because that person's going to be making trouble if they start asking too many questions. You want somebody that's going along with the program.
Right.
So that is also true, and that's for anything, you know. But if a person is really seeking the truth, you know, it's going to blow the cover off and it's going to blow the whole operation. You don't want that, or they don't want that.
True. Yeah. So even though I worked at a full-time ministry and led character development classes at a mega church, I was spiritually deader than a hammer and didn't know it.
I'd say my question is the person that's up on that podium, what do they believe? Do they really believe the shit that they're saying, or are they in it for the business? And have you ever really got to know those people? I don't know, you know. I've met a few people, even recently at one of the organizations, and you know they ask for donations, and they're like, hey, this building isn't free, none of this stuff is free, you know, like everything takes money. They want to put you on a damn subscription, so every month you're getting a $100 donation, you know, times 1,000 members. Like they're trying to get their money. Like
right.
First and foremost, they're trying to get their money, and that's what I see, you know. And if you get to know the people, like I got to know the lady, the one that's actually on the microphone asking for the donations. Like I know where she lives, I know what car she drives, and just by that I can kind of gauge how much money, okay, like I know how much this place that you live at costs. I know how much the car, you just bought a brand new Lexus car, okay, you bought that with the money from the church, right? You bought that with the donation. So you're asking for donations if you're living a luxury lifestyle. You didn't have to buy, you could have bought a Prius, but you didn't. You buy a Prius, you bought a Lexus. You could live in a a nice, humble house, but you don't. So that matters to me because this is the person that's asking for the money. They say it's for one thing, but they're using it for something else, right?
Yeah. So what I have been,
But at that church,
yeah,
she's got 1,000 people who are listening to her.
right.
1,000 people that are because she's good. She's good at speaking. And again, just like Hitler, that's the power. The power is speaking, not the message, not anything that they're saying. Just the power of speaking.
So what occurred to me when I was actually born again, and I previously had been, yeah, let me step out too. I had been,
But
you know what happened? I wanted to do as much as I could with what I had to work with. That's why I do this.
yeah. Well,
So
you know,
Jerry,
it's nice to meet you here.
well, likewise. I hope you don't see it as a waste of your time.
Oh no. Yeah, there's smart people out there, and you just have to. I know you question things, but
Question almost everything.
yeah, but that person that's the head of the church, you know, do they believe their own bullshit? Maybe. Are they in it for the business? Are they in it for the money? I got to question, those things. And then when I observe other things, like I said, the nice car that I know how much the car costs. I know how much the house costs. Jesus said, live humble. You're not living humble.
Yeah, what's up with what gives?
How can I ignore that? I can't ignore that.
Right.
But yet you have 1,000 people that do believe you.
It gets even worse than
that's
that.
all that matters. It's the psychology that you have. People that's all that matters is that people believe you. That is all that matters.
Who determines how much it matters, though?
You have to understand that is that all that matters is that people believe something. It doesn't matter if it's true. The truth doesn't matter. It just matters that people believe it, and it matters that you believe it.
I really believe the truth matters.
You create your own reality. You create the world that you see through your eyes and your mind. It could be completely imaginary, completely made up to you.
Well, the mind control technology I believe to be true is that there's not only this base reality that you and I are
I'll tell you,
in.
nobody's getting me though. Nobody's going to hypnotize me. I worked with a hypnotist, and he's like, "This isn't going to work on you." He's like, "You have to want to believe it. You have to accept it. And if you're not going to accept it, it's not going to work on you." And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. I don't believe bullshit. You're full of shit. It's not going to work on me. It works on stupid people, and fortunately for him, there's a lot of stupid people. So you've got this one person that's like maybe slightly smarter than everybody else, and it's very easy to manipulate people for whatever reason, and that's all it is. All these examples, the people at church, Hitler, political people, Jesus Christ, it's the same exact thing that's happened, repeatable over and over again throughout history. No differences.
So I agree with the 1% that I don't agree with is that Jesus is unique and he's the living word that took up flesh. He's the creator.
Yeah, I can't believe that he's an exception because you've got millions of examples and you're going to be like, oh well this one thing is different. No.
Well, the resurrection, you might want to look into that and see what you believe. Well, obviously you've already looked into it, right?
Yeah.
So there may come a time when you go.
So again, that wasn't observed by anybody. It was a story. The stories were written.
Why did the
not by Jesus? Why didn't he write anything himself? Why didn't he speak for himself? He spoke.
What happened? Okay, I got a situation
so
for you.
If you got.
So part of the story about the resurrection is that the Roman soldiers.
But you got a situation that's similar to like UFO people that.
This is a bit different.
But it's very similar. To
what happens to Romans?
But if somebody says I saw a UFO, okay,
yeah.
You saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but you said you saw it.
Yeah.
Like that. That's as far as we're going there. You said you saw it, and I didn't see it. So if somebody's like, I observed Jesus Christ, he came back to life. Okay, well, like. Why didn't he fucking present himself? Why didn't the UFO land in New York City in front of everybody? So everybody, but he revealed himself to you, to only you. Like, okay, that's where we're gonna like draw a line because Okay,
have you listened
because
to?
if if Jesus wanted to make an impact, he would have uh,
So
not just revealed himself to his believers, but to his non-believers, right? To the
yeah,
people that fucking killed him. He would have
faith.
he would have showed up right in time, like, hey, I came back, but he didn't do that.
I'm going to leave you with a
But
really
he didn't do that.
critical passage. Faith comes
He,
by hearing the word of God. That's where the faith came from, was hearing his word, hearing large portions of scripture, and he
but the scripture,
sovereignly changed
but the
my
scripture,
perspective.
I can't take that into account because the scripture was written by who?
He supernaturally
So I have an issue
through
with that.
people.
have
I
an issue with that,
understand.
yeah.
I understand
Like
that.
that's where we're gonna have an issue. And just like with UFOs, some people are very passionate about it. Some people are passionate about Bigfoot. You know, they'll go out and devote their entire life to
I get that,
It's
yeah.
not funny because it's the same thing. They'll talk to with the same passion that you're talking about because they believe it. They want to believe it. It might. That's what they want to believe.
Now, you said you work with a magician. Have you ever seen David Blaine?
Yeah.
Have you seen Chris? What's
Chris Angel.
Yeah. Have you seen some of the work that they've done that doesn't look like it could be anything but supernatural to me? Have you seen some of that stuff?
Well, some of the things they do are more um, like physical.
Yeah, it looks supernatural. Like it's defying the laws, pulling a chain through them, or
Well, there's things that are illusions, and then there's things that are
right. So I had.
but the difference is if you go to pay to see a magician, you're part of the show.
True.
You know that you paid to see a show. You know you were paying to see an illusion or to be fooled. Like you go in there with that thing. The difference is if somebody tries to fool you and you're not in on that part of the show, like you were being deceived, like you know you the magician, you knew you're going to be deceived.
So
that was part of the show.
Yeah.
But if somebody tries to get you and doesn't let you in on that deception, then that's the difference.
So
But the magician can prove to you, like he'll do a trick right in front of you, right in front of my face, and he'll get me every time.
have you seen those that look like you can't figure it out? Like something's going on here. Those are I've got them in my library.
Well,
It's
I mean, but he, you know, he'll show it to me, but a lot of it is, you know, the being quick or
well, that he may
distractions.
not be using
So
demonic
no,
activity.
but imagine go back 2,000 years ago to the time of Jesus Christ. What if you had the ability that magician has to fool people? What I mean, people really believed in magic back then.
Yeah,
They really believed in it.
they believe in it
so,
now.
Well, to a certain degree.
Right.
Like I said, if you go to a magic show, you don't actually believe that he's doing magic. You believe he's doing tricks, right? But back then, if you had those same abilities,
You might enjoy my playlist. I've got some of that
no,
stuff too.
Like
man.
that's serious. If you went back in time with those same abilities to fool people, people would think you are a god. People
yeah.
would think you're doing legitimate miracles.
Yeah.
People were ignorant back then.
True.
And not just that, but the chiropractor. If you go into the office, there's a lot of steps. There's a whole show that help you believe into it, and that's the person that works at the front desk. That's the other patients.
Mhm.
So you've got many steps when you go in there. Like, hey, this guy can do miracles. Hey, this guy is amazing. He can do miracles. And if you hear that from 4 or 5
It
different
can have
people,
an effect,
so you're like,
right?
okay, this guy can do miracles. This guy can do miracles. You're like, well, shit, maybe he really can do miracles.
Mhm.
Like that's part of the show.
The
So-
placebo effect.
yeah. So like going back to Jesus Christ, you have enough people. Hey, this guy Jesus, he can do miracles. This guy Jesus, you got to come see him.
Yeah.
He can do so. You've got all these people. And you're like, okay. And then you go there. There's 1,000 people. Like all these people believe this. Like, okay. Like I'm on board. That's all it. You've crossed the threshold there to believe. Like this person is doing there. He's the Son of God. And it's just like and that's what happened there.
So
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Now
I
in modern
understand that,
times,
yeah.
like with all the technology that we have, these people, and I, I can't put myself in the shoes of somebody that has cancer or somebody that has pain
that is like terminally ill and they're like looking for anything. They're looking, like, please take away this pain. I'm ready for a miracle.
Right.
That's a position where they're like ready to like make any leap of faith because they're in pain and they're dying.
Well, so one
but
of the
for this person
yeah.
to knowingly, and I have a big issue with this too. For this person to knowingly deceive this person who is dying, is that bad? It sounds bad. It sounds bad. But if you talk to the patient and you're like, okay, I'm gonna reveal the truth to this patient. I'm gonna tell him that everything is bullshit. And then you listen to them talk, and they're like, but he really did make me feel better. He really did give me hope. He really did. And yeah, the placebo effect is real. But then you're like, okay, well, who am I to take away from this person something that gave them hope and something that made them feel better? And then it becomes a complicated situation because
I'm glad to hear you say that because
it becomes a complicated situation because they want to believe, and you've got this person. I guess he is doing some kind of service, even though the service is like if he says, you're going to feel better, and then when you walk out of the office, you're like, well, I do feel a little better.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there observing, and I'm like, man, this is like a crime or something, but.
So that's one of the reasons why
It's hard for me to wrap my head around. But the only thing I can do is like step away from it, let people do what they want to do. You've got this person and you've got this other person. They came together somehow, and if it works out for them, that's all that matters. I have to step away from it. I can't be a part of it because they're doing things that they want to do.
So what I would say in all of it, Jerry, I'm glad we met.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to say, hey, that could be in any time. And it doesn't have to be, I don't have a crisis hotline. Yeah. It's more like, hey man, I saw this video.
Like there's no, being a skeptic, there's no pleasure in revealing the trick behind the magic. There's no pleasure in pulling the curtain back. I'll say that. It doesn't feel good. You think you're doing a service to like, let me give you the truth. You like, it almost feels like you're doing a service to humanity. It's like, let me show you the truth. But in reality, you're taking away people's hope. You're taking away people's faith. You're taking away people's beliefs.
So
just let them do what they want to do. Just let them believe
whatever they want.
The truth is a hard pill to swallow.
It is. So I've got the truth tellers and the deceivers in my library.
I just step away. People do what they want to do. I operate on the outside.
So you'll hear, if you watch any of my videos, you'll hear me say people largely believe what they want to believe.
Yeah.
I've come to believe that's largely true.
Who am I or who are you or anybody else to tell them the truth?
It's what I found. It's what I believe to be true.
But
they could look at that same list where I'm saying this is what I believe is true and this is what I believe is not true. They can look at it and get it totally different.
Yeah. When you go to really tell that person, it's just not going to be it doesn't feel good to reveal that to them. They don't want to hear it. They don't want their world to be collapsed. They don't want that. And who does? Who would want that? Who would like, hey, everything you ever believed was
so I was
bullshit.
able to trade in.
You wasted your whole life believing in bullshit.
I was able to trade in what I believe were my rags for his riches. That's what I found out, and I have a lot of years that I previously would have thought were wasted, and they all brought me to this point.
But it wasn't necessarily a waste. It depends how you look at it. I mean, a lot of people get a lot out of going to church. There's a whole social thing about going to church and the people that you are with there.
I've got a whole different thing going on. I get rejected from most people that I meet. The information I'm presenting is not popular and believed by most that I interact with. But keep in mind, Jerry, most of my interactions are very brief. Oh, you've got a YouTube channel? Yeah, here's a card. Guaranteed to blow your mind. If your mind isn't blown, you're not looking at it or you're not paying attention. There's so much going on that is literally mind-blowing. The technology that's unfolding with quantum supercomputers and the technological manipulation of humanity escapes the perception of most. They don't know. So even this what we believe
does
right
it,
now could be a product of some of that. I understand that.
but does it matter?
Well, I believe it does, or I would be doing something else.
But how does it matter? In what way does it matter?
Well, if I just simply want to fulfill the reason why I was created, I'm living out my purpose, and then God, I believe, rewards me for that, regardless of the results that I look at out here, like with this exchange or the one that may or may not happen later.
It's
Should
just
I have
like,
been to
yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's
I've just been through that. It's like telling a kid that, you know, like you brought up Santa Claus. You know?
yeah.
It's like telling them that Santa Claus doesn't exist. It's like that kind of feeling. That's what I mean.
I get that. I get that. But
And you're taking away the joy that that child had. He believed in this imaginary thing, and it gave them joy. And you're like, but it wasn't the truth. It's my
Correct.
job to go reveal the truth. And then when you see that joy taken away, you're like, okay, did I do something good just now?
I'd like to replace
Like
it with.
yeah,
I want to replace the synthetic with the genuine.
But why not just let him believe it?
Well, if they don't.
What harm does it do to just like let him?
Well, so how will they know unless somebody tells them? It's the Book of Romans. So I listen to large
But they
portions
only
of the
knew
Bible.
because they only knew because somebody told them that in the first place.
Right.
They only know that story because somebody told them that story in the first
Right.
place. And I could say the same thing to you. If you had lived outside, you were born in America,
Yeah,
where the dominant
yeah.
religion is Christianity. It's a tradition that was passed on for many years. That's the story that you were told, just like the story of Santa Claus. You wouldn't have known it unless somebody told it to you.
Well, one I believe is true and one is false. The whole.
I mean, but that's if you were born in the jungle and were raised by wolves, you would have this. You wouldn't have this concept, this man-made concept of gods that was created. This is a man-made concept.
So I investigated the Bible, listened to it a lot, came to believe it's true. I wanted to know if it's true, then I need to get in with the
it's
program.
as true to me as fucking Zeus and,
Yeah.
and Thor and the gods that were created. There were gods that were created before this god. So you're like, okay, well, humans have they really like to make up these gods. Like humans, it's like making up superheroes. Like we've got the damn Captain America.
Yeah.
Like it's the
There's a lot of replacements for the
yeah,
genuine.
well, we have a fascination with wanting to create these bigger than life things. You know, like
So there's-
it's just a human fascination that goes back. You know, but I don't see any difference in it. You know, you've got you're like, well, you don't believe in Zeus, do you? Like, no, I don't believe in that. That was a ancient Greek god.
Well, so
I
there,
don't believe in that. That's silly. You're
there-
like, okay, well, why is that any? You know, the Egyptians believed in Ra, the god of this. You know, they had many gods. You don't believe in that, do you? No, I don't believe in that.
So I encourage everybody to see.
but your God,
seek
the God that you believe in is
Well-
real. Well, it was real to them.
I encourage everybody to seek the truth.
They were willing to die for their gods, right?
I'm sure.
They really believed it. They were sacrificed and killed. They fought wars over it. But you think it's bullshit.
Well, there's the truth
It was-
and a
it-
whole
it-
bunch of everything else.
It wasn't bullshit to them.
So what ends up happening? I trust that God takes care of it, the Almighty. He predetermined where we would be and when we would be.
So he allowed all that to happen, all the false gods to be created.
I believe so.
For what purpose?
To be the backdrop between his being the authentic, true reality.
That certainly
Pretty vast.
muddies the whole situation, don't you?
Well, it makes it impossible for people to believe it unless he causes it to happen. That's what I would say.
But you were fortunate enough to be born in the country where
I was fortunate
the
enough-
religion that you chose is like you're not going against the grain here. You're going with.
I am going against the grain all around. Even the people
But-
that
but-
claim
but-
to love
but-
Jesus, they
yeah.
don't buy what I'm talking
Maybe
about.
not, but what if you were born in a dominantly
I don't even have to be.
Islamic country or a dominantly whatever country, and then you're like, okay, well, I believe in Jesus, and then you were the only person, and then you would have the opposition because like your parents, like, hey, we're Islamic, we're Muslim, and you're going to be Christian.
I don't have to be
You're
hypothetical.
going against our family.
I don't even have to.
But you're not going against it. But like it's a lot easier for to do this at the place you were born.
You're being presumptuous when you say that, because
it's not presumptuous because we're here in America where Christianity is the dominant religion.
the reason why I don't go to the organized churches is because there's a lot of not truth being
So
promoted.
your parents were religious or not religious? It doesn't
Religious,
matter. It doesn't even matter.
Catholic and Lutheran.
Yeah, it doesn't
What an
even matter.
a
Yeah.
mixed marriage.
So, but if you were to say, hey, I'm going to become a Muslim, they'd be like, oh, like what?
Yeah, they wouldn't like it.
They wouldn't like it.
Right.
But you didn't do that.
Right.
You didn't oppose the accepted
They weren't
beliefs.
happy with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing,
Well,
but they
regardless of
they
that,
loved me anyway.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with my mom dying of cancer when she was 51.
Like, again, for me,
Even though she prayed that God would heal her.
For me, debating you like this is a harder path for me to take than to just agree with you.
I understand that.
Because that's the accepted belief.
I'm glad we met.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm glad
when
we
you're-
met
when
too,
you're not
but-
hanging out-
but everything I've said, you understand it, right?
I do. I do.
It's-
I've been presented that before. You haven't shaken my faith, so you don't need to worry about. Oh man, he seemed like a nice guy,
and
but
it's not my goal is to shake anybody's faith because, like I said, when you reveal the truth, it's like revealing Santa Claus. I can just let people believe what they want to believe. I'm not trying to like rock the boat here or make any waves. Like that's not. Even though it seems like that's a good thing to do, it's not really the best thing to do. I don't want to disrupt your life or anybody else's life.
I want to enhance people's lives. I don't want
to falsely enhance your life.
Right, I agree.
Life is hard.
It is.
Life is harsh.
It
And
is.
I think that's the reason they invented the whole concept of God and an afterlife. I mean, not only is life hard now, but think if you lived back in like medieval times, like with the Black Plague, where you only lived to be like, you were lucky to live to be 30 years old, you know? And, like you really suffered. I mean, you could be poor now, but you were really poor back then. You didn't have the luxury of a car.
Right.
You lived in like literally shit.
Yeah.
So for them, the afterlife was more appealing than real life. There was like real life was like so horrible that they were looking forward to death, and they were looking forward to like going to this place that was described to them as being, not like.
Sounds like an upgrade to me. I'm looking forward
So,
to it.
but that's how it was presented to them.
Yeah.
And that was one of the tactics. And then on the other side, you have the fear. Like, well, you've got this great thing if you believe, and if you don't believe, you got this really terrible thing. So if you present that to a person, they're like, okay, well that's a clear choice. And then you're preying on these people. You're preying on these people that are suffering and uneducated.
No, I'm not doing that.
You're not, but
It's happening.
It is what happened.
It
It
is.
is what happened through history, and it's how we are
So,
at the place we are
You know
today.
the skepticism you
because-
talked about, that you're skeptical? Well, so am I. And when I heard of all the different religions, the smorgasbord of spirituality, they can't all be correct when they're contradicting one another. So which one's true?
None of them. They're all equally wrong and all equally made up by a person. They were all the one thing that they have in common is that they're all made up by people. That all of them have that in common. They were all created by people, not by gods. There's no God that has created religion.
I believe that
There-
Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah,
We
but-
could-
But
I'm gonna leave you with. I want to leave on somewhat of a high note. I'm not upset. I just want to say,
But
you
that's
know
a
what?
good point, though. I mean, like all the religions you said, like all of them were created by people. and
I
not by God.
agree that they
nothing.
were.
Yeah,
So like the all the different religions of the world, I believe, were created as a replacement for the truth. And
there's some people that you talk about Elon Musk. There's some people that talk about him like he's the current God.
I understand
he's a current
that.
genius. You have faith in him. The cult forms. The cult is the following of this figure,
True.
and there it is. You see it.
I
There's
see
people
it.
that follow Donald Trump religiously
I see it.
because he's a figure. He's charismatic. He speaks. You can see the effect.
People
You
are
can't
looking
deny- you
for
can't
a
deny it.
savior. They're looking for a savior. I just want to present them the actual one as best I can tell.
Well,
Through all my investigation, a lifetime of wanting to know how and why, that's what I've come up with, is that he's genuine, authentic, and I'm not just willing to die for it, I'm not afraid to live, die, or tell the truth. That's just what I do, Jerry.
yeah. I'm
Cool
with
to
on
see you,
that.
man. Now, when you're not living here, where are you living? Where do you go around to? Where do you call home now? Myrtle Beach?
Yeah, I've lived here for my whole life.
So one of the places I go to quite often is the Cherry Grove Fishing Pier. You ever make it up there?
It's pretty far north, but
Yeah, that's where I go
why,
to
Why do you go all the way up there and not here?
Well, because that's only 4 miles from my house,
Oh,
about 10 minutes away.
So what are you doing on this end?
I
Yeah.
came down to meet you. Let that sink in.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding.
yeah.
So
I did notice you sitting over there, and I did notice your sign there. So I'm glad you came over.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Nice
Yeah,
to
that
meet
was-
you,
that
man.
was Interesting talk.
Definitely enjoyed it.
Good.
Have a good one, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I don't know how much of the conversation you were able to hear of Jerry and I, but that was very interesting. How about that? So yeah, I believe what we do actually matters, and I'm glad that I went there. My battery is low, so I'm going to have to end the broadcast soon. I truly enjoyed meeting the challenging interaction with Jerry. Challenging and thoughtful. He brought a lot to the table, a lot to the discussion, a lot of the curiosity and questions that people have, Jerry brought forward. Faith is the evidence of things not seen. A big part of why I believe what I believe is faith comes by hearing the Word of God. And the overwhelming evidence of the reliability of the Bible and the changed lives of the Almighty's children that are actually born of His Spirit is powerful evidence of the reality of the God that took up human flesh and dwelt among us. So one of the questions that Jerry asked, I don't know if you were able to hear it, is why do you believe that? Why do you believe what you believe about that? And it's pretty involved. The short answer is because the Almighty caused me to believe that He is in fact real, that this is the truth, that He is the way, the truth, and the life. And so that's what I've been talking about for years, and it's the life that I've lived. And this is part of my videography, my video autobiography. What happens when somebody's life is radically changed by the Holy Spirit, by the power of God? So I was able to trade my rags for His riches, something that I'm totally grateful for. And that's why I do this. That's why I talk about it so much. And so part of what this is an adventure where throughout my day and night I meet people that literally blow my mind, and occurrences that I find truly amazing, whether I meet them online or I meet them face to face. It's an adventure to discover, well, what do I get to do today? And so it's, some of the pieces of that puzzle are similar, and yet what makes it unique and adventurous and enjoyable is God. He makes sense of it all to me. In a world where so much doesn't make sense, He makes sense of it to me. So I'm interested to find out how much of the dialogue between Jerry and I is actually recorded, what you're actually able to hear. And so as I do the best that I can with God working in and through me to expose the truth about everything, if you think I've missed something or have something wrong, I invite your input. You could send me a link, put it in a comment, or give me a phone call. That would be just great. So, this is Robert Forsch with the truth about everything. Thanks so much for your public and private encouragement. Keep in mind, what will it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? Faith comes by hearing, hearing the word of God. Thank you so much.